This is the Brick Commentary Central. You're listening to the BCC podcast. It is Monday, June 27th of 2022, and you're listening to episode 314 of the BCC podcast. I'm LQ. Joining me today is Ford.
Pie episode, get it?
Oh,
3,
yep.
1, 4.
Yeah.
I was in the math club in college, and I was the only one that could get the most numbers of pi. So yeah, that was my claim to fame.
Nice. I'm sure your parents are very proud.
They are very proud of me. Thank you for asking.
Also, our guest star today, PenPlays.
Hello.
So, Pen, you've been on before, but it's been a very long time. So if you want to give a quick introduction to everyone tuning in.
Yes, I am Pen of PenPlays. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Basically, all the major places where people love and enjoy Lego and share it on. Basically, kind of a variety content kind of person. I talk sets, talk things that are going on. I also work with a group of people called Masters of Jiu-Jitsu, one of the several moderators of the Discord server they're a part of, and that's allowed me to get really ingrained in the Ninjago community, which has been fantastic. But I am also a former Lego employee. I used to work at a Lego store for a total of 7 years, and that's something that I believe about it's almost a year now. Announced that was the case, and it's been a very interesting journey since then, no longer being a part of it, but an exciting one nonetheless.
Yeah, I actually only learned about the Masters of Jiu-Jitsu Discord server in the last week, because I've looked for Ninjago Discord servers for a long time, and there weren't any. I feel like more are popping up these days, but it was really hard to find more centralized points to discuss Ninjago for a long time.
Apparently, I think that the program or the app is called Amino. They had
I've
one
heard
there,
of them, I've never
but it's
done it.
kind of already tapered out, I think. Tuckered out's the better term. But that's just me. I do know that a lot of regulars within the community space who try to at least be regular are on Masters of Jiu-Jitsu, so I imagine that apparently it's some central location to be. But it's doing good so far, especially after we revamped it, which that was a chore. But it was a very grassroots Discord server initially, and it was building it up how we needed to, and then we figured out let's make this a bit more professional, and here we are.
Yep, it's good. Always welcome more communities like that, because a lot of them go downhill fast.
Yes, they do.
Oh, but we do have a lot to get into today. So for the past month or two of podcast episodes, regular listeners, all 5 of you out there who regularly listen, will recognize that there have been some topics who say, well, let's not talk about that today because we're going to dedicate an episode to it. Well, today is that episode.
Oh boy.
Oh, they waited for me. So sweet.
Well, yes. I wanted to get you on because out of all the people I follow on Twitter, you tend to have the most leveled takes on this, not being someone who's just angry about everything and not being someone who just defends everything Lego does.
Feeling a little attacked here on that first point.
Well, here's the thing though. I cause so much confusion. It's okay, do you love them or hate them? And I go, yes. Because yes, I hate what they're doing here, but I also love them for this. And you need to make sure that you are investing your time and appreciation in this and not just go win. And that's what I do.
And so I do want to get a couple of disclaimers out of the way, just the normal things that come up in comments on this type of episode. First, for me personally, anyone who knows me know for a long time, I defend a lot of stuff that Lego does that other people would get mad at. For years, I defended the pricing of Lego. I thought it was still fair for what it is.
I did too.
Yeah, I thought even back in the Bionicle days, I'm well, yeah. I mean the G2 days. Yeah, Tahoe's $20, but he's a lot bigger than your 6-inch figure.
Oh yes.
Just saying, he's a lot bigger than your
Oh yes.
6-inch Black Series for the same price.
Yeah, and I also
so don't come at me with that.
I was not a part of the group that called Lego creatively bankrupt since 2008 when your favorite mid 2000s theme was canceled, which a lot of people. I've defended a lot of things, and I generally try. We try not to make this a podcast just about everything we dislike. That's why we try to push the negative topics into other episodes. But man, these last few months.
Here it is.
Oh boy.
Oh,
no,
boy.
Not even just these last few months. Just like it's all really like culminated in the last month. Like all of the small little things just built up, and it's just exploded in the past month. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like the fiscal year ended for Lego in March for those curious, and from that point, it's just been like we figured out what to do with our money. Look at this! Look at that! Look at this! We're like,
hey, can
I don't think you figured out what to do with your money. Like
he's like, ooh, let's see what let's stop it into some
like
water and stop it onto a wall. See how it sticks.
I hate to bring Hasbro back into the conversation with this early on, and we need to because there's so much to draw comparison with here. But like,
so much
they basically like, okay, we're Lego, we're a fun toy company. Let's make it not fun. Like let's make collecting and building and sharing the experience of Lego not fun anymore. Just like Hasbro did years ago. When their distribution got screwed.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Toys
R Us,
for opening their eyes.
Yeah,
we love to see it. But it's interesting to note because there's a lot of companies that are currently doing this right now. It's not becoming about the company producing this product. It's about the brand. Oh, the brand. All hail the almighty brand. Look at our brand. It's over here. Look at our brand over there. It's sprouting legs. Ooh, our brand, brand. Did you know we have a brand? Our brand is great. What does your brand do? Oh, we're just a brand. We're like, okay. And then you get to look into yourself and find out, oh, it turns out my shoes are made by them. Oh, it turns out the thing that I enjoy is made by them. But this was something that really came into light, I feel, like in the early 2010s when Toys R Us was starting to get bankrupt, and all these other toy companies were realizing, wait, this was our only our primary source of like getting all of this done and getting this out there. What are we going to do? And then it kind of hit them that, what about our toys? And then it all just became something else from there.
Well, that's the question, though. It's the way you say it that's really the thing here. It's like you ask, what about our toys? What they're asking now is, what about our toys? You see the difference there? Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm
like,
not
what
sure
about
I
our
follow
toys?
you.
Because
I know what you're saying.
now
I'm
it's
just
like
not
it doesn't feel like
applicable
it's like you said, it's not about the toys. It's about the brand, the name recognition, all that kind of thing.
To add further inflection, it's not, oh no, what about our toys? It's, what about our toys?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I thought you were
Who cares? Our brand.
Yeah,
look at our shoes. Look at our clothes.
Yeah.
Look at our luxury products.
Look at our donations to
and you mentioned,
morally
like,
questionable companies.
With the early 2010s, there's a point I want to bring up just with that. But one more disclaimer before we do, because I always get this comment where people say, oh, Lego is a private company. They can do whatever they want. Yes, they can. And I'm a person and I can do whatever I want to do. And I can say exactly what I think of what they're doing.
That's the best part. We're promoting this lifestyle.
And you say if you don't like their products, then don't buy them. Well, I am cutting down drastically on what I buy because they've forced me. And that's the thing. I do like their products still in general. Like those crystallized sets. I like that. Their design is one area where they have not slipped up in at all. In fact, I think they've gotten way better design over the past 5 years.
I would say that it's the most consistent wave that we've gotten in a while.
Agreed. What's exceptional about Crystallize is that it doesn't feel like it's trying to constrain itself to like a specific idea of getting point A to point B. It just feels like, let's bring all of it together and make you love it. And that's what I've been wanting to see with Ninjago for years. And we've been led to believe that it's for a reason, much to some serious hardcore fans' chagrin, the idea that this might be it. Now, of course, the 13 or 14-year-old sits here going, "Oh my gosh, Ninjago is ending! I can't believe it!" For the 11th time
Yeah.
this
For the
week.
Bionicle fan, it's like first time.
Oh yeah, I'm as far as Ninjago goes, people are freaking out way
First
too
time.
much, and I'm to the point where whatever happens, we're gonna get sets. The theme's gonna go on. Obviously, if the story does or not, well, I don't think there's much of a chance of anything
Yeah.
really drastic. I don't think Lego wants to
Well-
shake that up, but we'll see.
And I
Exactly.
do think if it is the end, sorry to cut you off. If it is the end, then like it's been a heck of a run.
Like
you know?
exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's the longest lasting action theme that they've created now. I
Mhm.
know some people would like to disagree because there's 2 generations of a certain one.
That
But
doesn't count.
No, actually, we
doesn't count 'cause
calculated the
it's-
other
it's
year.
two-
If Ninjago gets one more wave, it passes both generations of
It
Bionicle.
does.
That would be hilarious.
So,
Oh,
but here's the
man.
thing though. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it could actually end." It's not.
Mhm.
And we know this because we have photographic evidence of this. In Lego has a museum set up at the Lego house where they specifically call Ninjago an evergreen theme. That
Mhm.
means that no matter what happens, it is like City, it is like Friends, it just keeps going. Now, we're going back to our good action figure friends who do stuff like Power Rangers, My Little Pony, Transformers. Do you know how many times they've rebooted that story just to keep the IP alive because it's just that good?
They reboot it like every year.
It-
I mean,
it- it
Transformers
depends.
at least they reboot it every year.
See, they do that with
feels like.
Transformers, but it's like you have
Yeah.
multiple running streamlines. So you have
Mhm.
you have one for kids, you have one for the serious collectors, and then you have the masterpiece ones that are the truly
Yeah.
adoring
Now I'd
fans fall
say
for.
like it's even more. It's actually gotten way more complex than that in recent years.
No,
it's
it
like
has.
it's like the streams that it goes down are just so completely fractured.
Yeah,
That's a
we
whole discussion in and of
It's a
itself.
whole discussion, and I would love to talk
Yeah.
about that specifically.
Yeah,
but
Ninjago
that's,
ending
like,
is so much of a can of
crazy.
worms. I will say before we wrap this up and move on to the next thing, I've actually been advocating for Ninjago to get to an ending for a couple of years now. I just want it to be a
Agreed.
good ending.
Agreed.
That's what
I want
I'm
I'd say like
worried about.
now is the time.
I don't-
definitely, 'cause,
and then
like,
if they
you're
do
at
wanna
the
reboot,
high, right?
If they do want to reboot, fine. But just please have a good ending to the original story that doesn't screw
Mhm.
things up. That's what I asked
Exactly.
for.
Like,
Yeah.
like don't become SpongeBob. Don't
Yeah,
become
don't.
Simpsons. Just get the story done and then start over again. And again, with those franchises, they take stuff from the first thing, twist it maybe a little bit, or do it exactly again, but kind of add some new elements to it. And people love that, especially if they're familiar with the source of it all. And then new people coming in are going to love it too. Add that to the accessibility of Ninjago.
I will say, I'm not sure if it'll work perfectly with Ninjago. We're gonna have to see the numbers personally, but
I can see it working, but it's one of the hardest issues that we have with difficult issues that we have with Ninjago specifically is that we're so focused on the fandom that we're not really keeping the idea that there's going to be a brand new generation of kids who are going to go into this
Mhm.
But also-
completely in love with this.
why I'm more skeptical too is how the Lego Ninjago movie didn't take hold when it was basically a reboot. Also,
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing though, that was probably the largest spike in new fans for the entire franchise so far. And it can be really hard to see that if you weren't like there immediately when it happened. But just hearing just how many people started with at least the sets, or if and then eventually got into the show, there are a lot of people that fall under that category, and
I guess I
it
just haven't
shocks
seen
so
that
many people.
myself. Then
If you ask around, you'll definitely run into somebody.
okay, well that is very interesting to know because I just hadn't seen it. Because I mostly saw at the time just how many people didn't, because I think we were expecting a lot more at the time.
Yes.
And
And that's just purely due to the idea of it.
I think actually that's a good thing too, because that is not the type of reboot I think was the best for Ninjago either.
I agree, but what happened was a soft reboot with the franchise, though.
Mm-hmm.
You got
That
completely
worked.
brand new character designs and all that, but then they gave you a reason why this happened, and everybody wants to say it's
Okay.
a time travel situation, which it's not.
Mhm.
They just got older,
Yep.
and it's like
And
that
all right,
happens.
I'd love to keep
Like-
talking about this more, but we need to criticize Lego corporate. So
Yes. Finally. Oh.
I would love to talk. I could talk about Ninjago for hours and hours, but we have a few other
I could
things
too.
to get to here. So
Oh yes, we do.
and I almost wonder, like, where do we start? I guess we could. Most people that follow this podcast are listening in are probably aware somewhat of what's going on with the Lego prices.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
not just bad, but it's confusing because of the strategy they're taking to raising their prices. Is not even everything gets a raise across the board, but they're like, well, let's try and have some sets have like a 20% increase and some sets have a 0% rather than just a 10% across the board.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And okay, let's just talk about that first, because I take issue with that. They're like, I understand the principle, like, oh, because we're trying not to and the sets that kids would buy, not have them be burdened by it, and I get that, but all you're really doing is ticking everyone off in the end.
So something that we need to consider first off with the prices that we've heard about, this is from a German source, as far as I understand. And from what I understand, and this has always been the case with Lego's pricing, it's always been regional. So what we see might not reflect where we're located, but it might affect other people. I know that I know that when it comes to certain like pricing increases and such, it's usually pretty blanket for most companies. But with the situation here, it just, especially with what's rumored to change, it just sounds like we want to make sure that all unsuspecting parents are paying absolutely heinous amounts of money to maximize the profit of them because of the fact that they don't know what they're doing. And then also doing that with the Lego Icons brand, as it's now called.
Yeah,
Which,
I'm not sure I agree with that statement, because like parents now, at least, you know, from because like we're old enough now, Liam and I, like we're old enough where our friends have kids.
Sure.
So our friends are parents, and we talk to them, and and I've talked to
my friend
parents.
Me. Okay, you're quick.
Yeah,
my friend texted me the other day. Asked, "Hey, I want to get some Lego for my son. Do they still make Bionicle?"
Well, okay, maybe not John, okay, because I know who that is. But like I know people who are very weary about what to do for their kids. So I feel like there's a lot of parents who will be very aware of what they're paying. I know mine were. That's why I didn't have a lot of Lego when I was a kid.
I think actually both of what you're saying is true at the same time. This might have been what Penn made. I think what Penn's saying, that's what Lego thought would happen. I don't think parents are actually going to react like
because
that.
the parents are not reacting like that.
I
think I've even like kind of perused your Twitter a bit. There's a lot of reviews on Lego's website about on the very like poorly priced sets.
Yes.
From angry parents saying, "No way in heck I'm paying for this."
Yeah, but here's the thing that's interesting though, is that you might recall with Lego City how just randomly the prices just kind of like blew up like about a year and a half ago. And the thing is that with the brand, this is something that I noticed when I was working there. The brand new parents don't know what they're paying is overpriced. And so that's how they manage to take advantage of the whole situation. Little kids are going to want, I want Lego Friends, mommy. I want Lego City, mommy. Those are probably, well, Friends is actually pretty fairly priced, come to the thought, but City is almost always the go-to. And all of those sets were already pretty atrociously priced for what you're getting compared to everything else. But that's the gate to entry.
Right.
Everybody starts with that. But the thing is that one of the purveying ideas is that, oh, Lego is super expensive. In truth, at least up until now, that has not been the case at all. It's been incredibly consistent. It's just that all of these people started with Lego City. And that is setting this precedence that, oh, everything is that bad. When in reality, they just were getting ripped off.
I mean, Liam and I used to argue that, like, compared to other toys, toys on the market at least, Lego's very fairly priced.
Yes,
especially for what you get. Like,
and you the quality of it too.
Yeah, like you look at Star Wars, what Hasbro's doing with it. They don't even know what they're doing with it. But Star Wars in Lego's hands has been nothing but consistent. You get a ship, you get all the characters you want. They are, to this day, the only company that has put out all of the main heroes from The Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
The only one.
The
That
only
I find
one.
that wild. A mainline movie. They're the only ones. So
The
at least
crazy
you're getting
part is that it's all the marketable characters, not just the main characters. Like
Yeah.
everybody who's a part of the main
like
marketing, Lego's
all
done
of them.
everybody.
Yeah.
Bulio, Sith Troopers, Pride, everybody.
Mhm.
Like except for Palpatine.
Well, yeah, because
Actually-
by then the movie kind of petered out.
Well, actually, no,
in
that was,
popularity.
I mean, this is a side, but that scene, I'm not a huge Rise of Skywalker fan, but like the Palpatine throne room from that movie would make a pretty cool set.
Right?
Uh-huh.
I think it was
We-
rumored that it was going to be one, but they didn't do it.
It was never going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
After the numbers were
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
in
it
for
would not be
Yeah.
smart now, but it would be cool just on its
the
own.
numbers for what's it called?
Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker sets specifically.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah,
you
the
think
sets did
about
not
it,
do very well.
and that was because of the price.
Yeah.
But
What,
so yeah,
$80 for the TIE fighter, stuff like that. Like
yeah, as
who?
far as city goes, I
yeah.
completely agree with what you're saying. That's why people thought it was so expensive. I'm just
Mhm.
thinking now the prices with that next jump, it's going to be more like Lego's really expensive too. Wow, Lego is too expensive to get
Yeah.
into.
Yep.
Because
And
now
then-
you've priced all of the regular sets, non-city sets, accordingly like their city sets.
Yep. But what's really interesting too is that especially if our list is anything to give us merit of how it's all going to turn out, they are taking sets that are launching in August that are for the US at least, that are already priced as if that change has already happened.
Yeah.
And they're going to do the change to it again.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I
I
heard.
think-
And that's
oh, they're
horrifying
doing
me
it
about
again.
Ninjago if that's the case, because there were a couple sets in the crystallized wave which already were near impossible to swallow, like the Kai
Mhm.
Raider,
Hmm.
Here's the Kai Raider and the Golden Dragon are like the heaviest, like, oh my gosh, how could they sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, well, it's probably a bunch of new recolors. There are like 1 to 2 recolors tops.
Mhm.
And all of the molds that are unique to that set are in almost every
Yep.
single other Ninjago crystallized set.
Mhm.
The only exception being the Golden Dragon's heads.
See, the Golden
Mhm.
Dragon, I could kind of swallow because when going back, I was like compared to the Nindroid Mech Dragon, which I think was actually like 120 at launch. It was an absolutely awful deal for some
The
reason.
Nindroid Mech Dragon was 90.
90, okay. But still, I think it's something in the price per piece. There's been overpriced dragons for Ninjago before. That's nothing new. But the Kai vehicle is the weird one. That's the one that
Yes.
really...
Not really. Kai vehicles are consistently the best selling Ninjago sets.
I
just
get
period.
that. It's just
But
how
yeah,
much
they-
more? Like, I remember like we had a leaked price and it's like, wow, that's too much. Then the official price like, oh, it's $10 more than what the leak was.
It is gonna probably go up again. Woo!
Oh, and I'm getting to the
Ah.
point where I really wanted to collect all that wave. I'm like, now, I don't know that I can get myself to stomach collecting all of it at this point.
So that's a question that I have now. Sorry to break you
Go ahead.
off.
No, go ahead.
The price or the sets that were revealed last week at LegoCon,
Mhm.
are they priced accordingly to post change or pre
That's the
increase?
confusing part.
Whatever.
I
Because now I'm confused about that.
want to assume so, looking at the price for the Sanctum. And
Yeah,
the
so
Castle,
because the
which those
rumored
rumored
price of the
prices were- yeah.
Sanctum at least was like 210 or 215 or
Mhm.
something like that.
was
Now it's
210.
250, which
the Castle was
still
300.
still relatively fair, I'd say.
The Castle was
but still.
350, if I remember right.
Ooh.
And now it's 400.
So yeah, that's what I worry about too, like the Ninjago and everything too. It's like these already seem like, oh, this is what we can expect. Like, what if the Iron Man like new Hall of Armor goes up in price again? Come
I mean, that's already not fair. That's already not fair.
Well, see, their idea is kind of like their obsession with TIE fighters. Like, oh, it's Iron Man. They're gonna buy it anyway, right?
Nope.
I don't think that one. I think I don't.
Well, no, that's what they say.
Yeah, I know.
Last time they said, oh, it's a TIE fighter. They'll buy that. Rise of Skywalker comes along. Star Wars Resistance comes along.
Yeah.
Oh, why is nobody buying our TIE fighters? Oh, it's because they're too expensive. Proceeds to make a $40 TIE fighter that sells
Yep.
gangbusters.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's almost like you need to try this again and again and again
So-
and again in a video. But it's just
So yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
and that's why I also find it kind of scummy to announce all these summer set prices just to raise them in a month because not a lot of people are like us and go out and buy sets day one. A lot of people are going to be waiting until the holiday season.
that's the typical case too.
Mhm.
Yeah, actually, nowadays I'll be waiting until then, especially
but-
because if that's when the
We get some
if
solid
that's when I
info.
can get them at solid retail price, then okay, yeah, I'll get them then.
If it does end
Um,
up the Ninjago sets are going out, I'm gonna have to make a hard decision to like basically dip into my deep savings and buy them all
Yeah.
to save money ahead of time.
I have learned to not buy Lego Day One anymore. Like,
Mhm.
this is thanks to always being like a year behind for the things that I would like to get.
Mm,
Is that I've managed to always skip out on launch days, unless I just absolutely have to.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I want to make sure I get exclusive sets first. So, like,
Yeah.
right now, what's on my radar is like Grimmel Place because
Yes.
I know that's one that they're going to retire in a year,
Faster.
just like they did
Yeah.
with the Burrow,
Yep.
just like they did with what was the one before the carriage, the
Yep.
Bobatton's carriage. Yeah,
Yep.
so I know that they're going to do that. So eventually, like, I gotta bite the bullet and get that
see,
one.
there's two
Very smart.
things that have kept me. Actually, it's only been the last 2 years because when I've had a relatively stable job and a good amount of income that I started buying basically every Ninjago set that came out.
Hmm.
And I have tried to look for sales on some of them. The issue is not every Ninjago set always goes on sale, and often it's the ones that I don't want that do go on sale.
Yep.
Sales are definitely rarer and rarer for the past year.
For Ninjago specifically.
Yeah.
For not
Um,
even just Ninjago, but just Lego in general.
It's been really interesting because Lego has in place this thing where I have to wait 3 months before any store can discount their product that they're launching. So the moment that happens, and then Amazon's over here chopping at the bit, just like, oh my gosh, we need to put this on sale right now. We just have to, but they can't because that's in the contract. So the moment that exactly 3 months after something launches,
Mhm.
everything's 20% off. And I do mean literally everything.
I did
And
not
then
know that.
the product ends up going out of stock if it's a super popular one because it's the first time it's ever been on discount.
Mhm.
And this is also something that Target and Walmart have noticed Amazon do, so they start doing it too.
Mhm.
It's almost always
Ah.
online though, keep that in mind. But what ends up happening is that gives a gauge of what should remain at that price and what shouldn't. So say what's a good example? So say people wanted the Ninjago Ultrasonic Raider, the Ninjago Legacy one, and they could choose between that or they chose between the X1 Ninja Charger, and they're both 20% off at this point. Um, say if they were launching at the same time, of course. Um, whichever one people chose more of is the one that they will soon take off of the 20% off discount
Mhm.
because I know that they don't need to put that item on sale to push it. That's why the 4 Plus Kai Blade Cycle has been 30% off since it had the opportunity to, because no one was buying that.
Mhm.
So it's always worth doing that, but then
And that's
after the
actually
fact,
when I did buy that set because I didn't like it, but I
me
thought, oh
too.
well, it's on sale. But
It's like I want the Serpentine minifig. But usually after that point, keeping an eye on Amazon, especially if you're a shopper there, of course. So many items that are like middle ground sellers will eventually dip into the 25 to 30% off for like a day or two, like for a special deal. And it's always worth almost waiting for that to see what would happen. But then with all of these companies having either options for earning money back or just like having a kind of program attached to your computer, an extension to track that, it's like there is plenty of options to get a discount after that 3 month period is
Okay.
done. And it's helped me out a lot, but then I sit here seeing Optimus Prime exist and the DeLorean exists, and like I can't wait a single second
so
without
yeah,
it.
that's where I'm at with like. So I was actually because outside of Lego, I mean, we can't ignore the economy's not great either,
Yes, that's the
and I was
huge
already at a
issue.
point that I was like, well, I can't. I would have bought all these sets day one like I did with the Island and Seabound,
Mhm.
but I can't do that right now because I also want a house. So
There you
I'm like,
go.
I'm gonna buy like one set a month or so.
Mhm.
And I was like, then I hear like, oh, now, and then then I can actually get into discount stuff. Normally, the reason I buy them all at once too is because I have every single Ninjago minifigure, and I want to keep
Mhm.
having every
Yeah,
single Ninjago minifigure.
but it's why I always keep track of all the listings for what's retiring soon and all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. It's usually if it's retiring in July, come May, if it says this is this, then it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's going to retire in December, by October you will know. Double VIP always hits at that perfect time there. Get what you want before the holiday rush hits.
But yeah, then
Mhm.
the issue now is also the price increase is coming a month after these
Yes.
sets, maybe, and then that's like, so even if they do discount, it might not even discount for as much as the original price was.
But then you mentioned a good point with the economy and such, is how that's just doing absolutely wonderful right now. People are not going to have as much money on hand to spend on want tos as opposed to needs.
They already don't. I mean,
They already don't.
I can take myself for example. When I moved out to Cincinnati, I had enough disposable income from my job to be able to get one set a week, at least one set a week on average. Now I can barely get one set every like 2-3 months.
There you go.
Yeah, because I it's like, well, I could get a set or I could eat.
There you go.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yep.
It's kind of sad, but like
Mhm.
that's really the reality here
And
because
it's gonna be way worse
prices
for
of
people that
everything
actually
has
are
gone
buying this
up.
for their kids.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, what are you going to do now? I mean, well, they can't even find food for their kids, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. What's interesting too is it really reads about like a certain blindness to the situation that's going on with Lego too.
Mhm.
Because this price change is I will be transparent in saying has been on the docket for like 2.5 years now, ever since
That's
the
what I was
pandemic hit.
thinking. Yeah.
Which they're only doing it now, strangely, after reporting I don't know how many billions of dollars in profit they made.
Oh.
2 billion? 2 billion,
Several,
I believe it was.
yeah,
I did want to
it's
also say, does that have anything to do? Because I don't know if there's like a lot of reasons that you know of why this price increase would happen, but is any of them the price of plastic going up,
no.
just in general?
No.
No,
That's why
what?
I told you, Ford.
No way.
I am going to tell you right now that the reason why they are raising the prices is because they see everybody else doing it, so they can.
Yep.
I am telling
That's
you right. That is
okay. That
100% the
is
reason why it's going on.
actually evil. That is
No,
evil.
the moment that the
And I
moment
say that
that
with no hyperbole. That is evil. The
the
price of
moment that
plastic has been going
Kel,
up,
yeah,
at least like 5-10% every month since the beginning of at least 2021.
their
It's gone
margin of
up by like 100% since then.
their margin of profit is so tantalizingly special, and they're abusing
Yeah.
that to the nth degree right now. Let me tell you, like some of these sets, it's a fraction of what even the wholesale price is.
That's
Like
Mhm.
unbelievable.
they are the moment that Cal was no longer the head of the board and they had a new CEO come in who was from an outside company, suddenly these decisions started to get made. And it's really interesting to see how that's continued on trend ever since they reported their first dip ever since coming back up from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like the moment they first returned a profit was around 2008, 2009. Once 2016 hit and they did not get the numbers that they were expecting because they were expecting Lego movie level growth for
Mhm.
2015. They decided to make the executive decision of firing most of their senior corporate staff. So
Which
it sets you a wonderful precedence of what they would go through for now, where it's if they end up reporting that it could happen again, and it's like, why not just take a pricing cut? Take a cut on the corporate
so
level.
I've got a
Like,
couple of thoughts. So
sure,
the first one is okay, yeah, you're a business, you're trying to make money. I can understand price
yeah,
increases.
totally.
Why not try and fool us and do it gradually instead of just slap us in the face with it?
Right?
Uh-huh. But
Right?
then that's the Lego way, though. It's
And
like,
like you
oh,
could have
we
come
feel
out,
this
yeah.
way, have it.
You could have come
Yeah.
out with a reason like, oh, well, the price of plastic has been going up steadily since the beginning of like, the past
Oh,
year
but
or
instead
so.
they're
That's
and that's such okay. I'm actually gonna hold that because that one thing that legitimately ticks me off that was in that press release for it. I think you guys probably know, but we'll get to that in a moment. The other thing is this isn't a larger. It's we talked about this earlier with Hasbro. This isn't an issue just with the Lego Group. It's an issue I think with kind of business culture right now in general. Is
yes.
where
They're basically
growth
like
is put over sustainability.
yeah, and I hate to say like they're basically extorting the consumer because they know that they're going to get their dollar. I hate to say that because it's just sounds so like ooh consume or whatever, but that is kind of like the way the corporate culture seems to me.
See, to add on to that, something that I like to run around on Twitter with is Lego's new motto is, "It's Lego, you'll buy it anyway."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the mindset that permeates the corporate level right now, and that's part of the problem. They're so like, "Oh, look at our brand. We'll know that you'll buy our brand because you love our brand."
Which is
Not
basically what they thought
realizing
in the 90s for a while.
Yeah,
that
like, and I hate
you
to
can.
keep bringing it back to Star Wars. It's like, okay, so we'll put it out and you'll buy it anyway. How'd Rose Tico do for your Hasbro?
How did your Snoke figure do, Hasbro?
Yeah, how'd that do? How'd your
How'd that
sequel
go?
trilogy stuff go for you?
Is
Is it still in Five Below? Oh, it is.
Oh, really? No way. Who would have thought?
Huh.
What was where'd my brain go? When I lost my train of thought. Great. You were talking
Sorry.
about it was the But anyway. See, to kind of culminate capstone all of this here, with that mindset, completely ignoring how the economy has gone, it's really interesting to see them feel brave enough because of how well they did during the pandemic, because people were panic buying. They are very under the impression that their success was due to them being them, such as, changing the box designs to 18 plus, introducing all these larger size sets. It was because people had money or were
Yeah.
panic buying because they wanted happiness during a sad time. It was not because, our brand, yay, our brand.
It's
So
totally not
once
because they had nothing else to do at the time, and just
exactly,
instead of just sitting at home
And
and
we were
building
still
Lego
coming
sets
off
like
a
us.
very
We
good
did that.
economy at the time. I think a lot of us had a lot of
Exactly.
savings at that time.
Yeah.
a lot of us had a lot of savings, because a lot of us got kickback from all that happened. But and that's what helped fuel that, especially come the holiday season after that, and that snowballed into 2021, because people were still getting their kickback on top of the fact that business is booming because we're back, we did it, not realizing the whole backlog of troubles that are now coming to light now. But I think that they are fully blind to this, and that is why they're making this decision now. And I am going to make the bold, yet not exactly unlearned prediction that they are going to see one of the sharpest percentage declines in revenue this year, than they have ever seen in the history of the company, and they are going to go insane.
Yeah. And I worry where they're going to direct that insanity.
Exactly,
Yeah, so
they could terminate
question-
employees and such. They could
Watch them
my
just
question
fire all the
is-
designers, and the people actually did their jobs right.
That's what they did.
My question is, when do you think that decrease is going to begin for the year?
With the decrease begins when I think, the decrease in profit will probably end up hitting once we have reached the 6-month mark for
holiday season.
It's going to be Q2 for them. Once all these companies start to report their Q2 earnings and seeing how things are kind of like, I don't know, and then they start terminating people.
I would actually go back up and say Q1, because that's when
we're in Q1 of the fiscal year. That's
I
March,
forget that it starts in March.
Yeah, it's March to June.
Okay, so you're thinking the turn of Q1 to Q2.
Yeah, so I think I think once Q2 completes.
Yeah,
because that's
okay.
That's October. That's
I would actually say we probably start seeing it now, because this is when you're going to see the earliest backlash against what they're doing.
They would see a drop even if they were doing all the right stuff, is the thing.
Yeah, and also because at this point, as of the start of Q1 in March, April. I don't know. Yeah, so as of the start of Q1, that's when you started to see the snowballing of the economy across the world.
Yep.
Especially with gas prices.
Yeah.
So that's the first instance where people started to hold a little bit more tightly to their cash.
Yep. And
from what I've seen.
No, you're right.
I think that's definitely where they're going to start seeing that decrease. It's not going to be from these price increases.
No, the thing is, they're probably seeing
but this is definitely going to make it worse.
But it's only a nominal change, because they go, the gas prices, whatever. But once October hits and either gas prices have gone higher, prices of food has gone higher, or the economy has crashed. One of those three is going to happen, or as a culmination of it all together.
I think all of them are going to happen.
Yeah, all of them are going to happen.
I'm particularly black-pilled when it comes to the economy right now.
That's when they are going to have this, oh my goodness, what have we done? Now, of course, they have a half-year report that they are so gracious to share with us when they really don't need to, where they're probably going to reset their expectations.
What do you want to bet? They don't release their report.
I am going to be honest with you. I think that is where we're headed.
How much you got? How much you got?
I'm not a
willing
betting.
to put some money down on this.
I'm
Let's
not
go.
a betting man. I'm not a betting man. But once, because I mean, there's going to be a holiday season where people are still going to buy and spend, but it's not going to be at anywhere near the level it has been these past 2 years in the
Yeah.
slightest. And they're going to look like shocked Pikachu, wondering what's going on. I didn't know this would happen when it's literally written on the wall.
Yeah.
Kiddos are gonna have a smaller Christmas
Well,
this year. Sorry.
Exactly.
So before we move on to
It's
like
fun
kind of the
Christmas,
next
though.
portion of this, because obviously we've kind of driven it in, there's a million reasons why this was a bad idea as far as business goes, and that's something. It's not exclusive to Lego. I think a lot of businesses are all short-term profits, not looking at long-term sustainability, which is bad business. That's what Lego told us in the 90s. Like, I loved the book. If you, you might have read it, Pen, the Brick by Brick book.
I haven't had the luxury.
Oh, you haven't? It's a really good book, especially if you love Lego, especially if you liked like Lego Universe or anything.
Definitely.
Because that's actually like the most definitive answer of what happened with Lego Universe. Before actually, now the Bits and Bricks podcast, which also I'd recommend to any of our listeners. That's a fantastic podcast. It's actually officially
I'm
Lego.
like halfway through the final season of that. I've been enjoying it
It's
tremendously.
Amazing. I
listen to
love
that.
that show because
I
I'm
adore
actually
it.
surprised that Lego officially sanctions that and how self-aware it is of the company.
Yes,
Like-
but also the fact that they aren't continuing because there's so much more they could talk about and getting back at.
Oh, they're
to
not
people who
continuing
they
it?
work with. Yeah, apparently that was its final run, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'm sure if it were still running right now, oh boy, they'd
Rubbing
lose their
of
support
hands.
quick.
Rubbing of hands.
but
But
one more thing on that.
sure.
Yeah, this is basically the exact strategy that cost them their business back in the day. And
you can keep track of it too.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a bright side to this where companies tend to go through this. Like I said, the board changed out after they recovered from their crisis in the early 2000s. And then they came up with a board who basically didn't have to earn what they had.
Yes.
And that's
a great way to put it.
And so they just like, oh, we just have this because we're so great. No, there were some amazingly bright and talented people that brought Lego out of where it was, and a lot of happy circumstances too.
And a lot of those people were canned in 2016.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or changed their seat to make sure that they didn't get involved in that practice.
I remember
the people who are there now did not earn Lego's position where it is in the world right now. And they're completely oblivious of that, and that's a problem for them.
And now they're at a crossroads where they actually do have to earn, but they don't have the skill to do it.
So yeah,
seemingly
Exactly.
do not have the skill to do
So-
it.
Oh, I mean, it's kind of proved that already. But
Yeah.
continue.
So then we talk about the press release. There is something in there that, again, you might have already guessed what I'm getting at. That really rubbed me the wrong way. There's one thing about being greedy. I mean, you kind of expect that. I don't even get that mad if a company's greedy. That's okay. You're greedy. What else is new? But then they lie about it too. They're like, we've been eating these costs for years. What?
No, you have.
You've been reporting record high profits for years.
Like,
If-
it gets better and better every
Yeah,
single year. It's like,
I
what is
made
this game?
sure.
Oh, it's like a 5% drop than what we expected. You came out on top on that. You could
Yeah,
have been
I
worse.
made sure
And
in
then-
our itinerary to list like the their full year reports. So let's see. Lego Group achieves top and bottom line growth during 2019. Reports strong growth in 2020. And then in 2021, strong growth in 2021. What's going on with that?
I don't know.
It's not like you're eating these costs. And every time you do get strong growth, it's also offset by you firing a bunch of people at your factories. So you can
32%
get that
plus increase
growth.
in operating profit. Y'all.
Like seriously.
It's like, okay.
you're not making you're not just making small gains, you're making big gains.
Which
Because
you're
you're
figuring
cutting
out
a
some
lot of the
huge
fat,
companies.
but you're
Now-
cutting the fat in really bad
I'm no
places
economist
to do
or
so.
businessman. You know, I'm IT. I'm security. I don't usually deal with that. I deal with the practical side of things. But I do
Mhm.
recall at some point hearing something that you don't want your company to grow at the rate
Yeah.
that they were doing. And someone,
Yeah.
you can come and correct me if I'm wrong. I just recall hearing this. Like, because again, you put yourself into a place where you're not sustainable.
Yeah, because like your aim is so high that you will fall no matter what happens. And unfortunately, as Lego has proven multiple times in its lifespan, when they reach heights, they aim even higher and they don't consider what's down below.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. You think about your little wonderful little LED lights and your pneumatic motors in your Technic and your UFO being in the exact same situation that Hidden Side and Video was, just reborn in the modern age. It's rinse, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, see, and I kind of want to spin this a little bit nicer here, but it's been proven time and time again that these companies that are stubborn about brand and are just aiming higher, aiming higher, aiming higher, when they fall. Nintendo did this with the Wii U. Lego did this back in early 2000s after 2003. They make some of the best stuff they have ever made, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only silver lining to it, but you also sit here not wanting them to suffer.
And that isn't,
because you love them.
That isn't a 100% guarantee, because there are companies that fail,
No.
too.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, I see what you're meaning.
Because
Like, I actually finished reading Reggie's book recently, Disrupting the Game.
too.
I love reading books about... Reggie does think very highly of himself, by the way.
Oh, no, I know he does, and he should. We love him.
I know, I do love him too, but he definitely contributes, like, it's very much like, oh, I made this decision. Okay, Reggie, you might be taking a bit more credit than you know, but you're good, you're good.
No, let him have it,
But he doesn't talk about, like, what led to the Wii U a lot. He doesn't talk about the failures. I guess Reggie's kind of like Egypt in that case, but...
It's like Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt never recorded their failures.
The entire country of Egypt is inside Reggie.
Yeah, he talks about how... What did they do? Well, the thing is, what's interesting with Nintendo, too, is they didn't have a corporate changeover at that point. They kind of just learned and went forward.
They learned and swung with the punches, but it was very
However, with the N64 or in the GameCube era, they did have a
Mhm.
corporate changeover for that one.
Yep. But then, like, with the Wii U change, though, it's like the people who were at the head there knew what they needed to do and found it.
Also, they took
and
pay
then
cuts.
and they took pay cuts, but then also what furthered that process along was that Satoru Iwata. He passed away in the middle of that transitional process. So they already had the compass and the map all ready to go to rescue themselves from that. But it has been 5 years since the Switch came out, and we are already on the other side of that cycle.
Oh yeah, we're seeing that, like, you hear what's happening with Nintendo of America lately, and Reggie's like, this isn't the one I walked away from. It doesn't sound like the one. He describes it in detail.
Can you fill us in for those who aren't so familiar?
The working conditions, especially for contractors, sound really bad. They sound to be just kind of like going with the flow, and kind of like you have these kind of just elite people thinking they're at the top of the world.
Is there a crunch culture going on?
Huge.
Yeah.
Like massively.
No.
Like it's the thing is that their corporate offices in Japan don't care.
Yeah, and that's what made Reggie special, actually, is that he didn't care that they didn't care. He pushed anyways.
So when Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Europe say, hey, this is a problem, it's like, fix it. And we need your help to do that. They ask the people in Japan, they go, no, you can do it.
And that's why everyone, they say, oh, the Wii U days are their dark times, and there was a lot of issues then. I was actually happier with Nintendo as a company then, because I felt like they were trying a lot of more stuff.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So, like, when the whole 90s thing, the whole issue with a near bankruptcy with Lego back in the early 2000s, that was the dawn of the action theme. You have Adventurers, or an Expedition, Bionicle. You have Jack Stone, which technically does count. You have Arctic.
All stuff that the old Danish board did not want.
Yes.
They saw it as against their brand values.
And then they did it, and they're like, we're making money off of this. We're actually doing it. We're not sticking to our laurels, which is the issue for everything that's going on here.
Read Brick by Brick, because there's a hilarious story about the troubled development of LEGO Universe and how those guys held it back, and how, like, this one Danish executive basically got ticked off because kids were hitting a monkey with a hammer in the game and said that was too violent.
And it still is in the game too.
Yep.
It all goes back to a stubbornness to not want to change, and then when it's time to change, it could potentially be too late for you to do that effectively without changing literally everything.
And I think it's also a point of going after just what everyone else is doing rather than doing what you know is right. It's like going after, like, what looks best on this paper right now, what looks best tomorrow.
Where does app integration fall under that, though?
Oh.
Where does that fall under? Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
Would going after the adult dollar necessarily count on
I think
that.
that's actually one of the smarter decisions they've made.
I mean,
lately.
I think it's a smart decision. However, they weren't the first company to do it. Everybody else was doing that at the time.
Yes.
Transformers,
it's-
especially, they were going. I mean,
Especially.
Transformers, Star Wars,
Yes.
Marvel. Oh my
Marvel,
good, Marvel
absolutely.
Legends,
Yes.
dude.
yeah, I can't
So,
say they did it
Like
for the
they've
right
got a
reasons.
huge adult following.
I was always, I
Um,
campaigned for them to do this for years, so maybe I'm a little biased because I think that's the right decision. But
Yeah.
It is. No, it is.
But
they
that
might have
certainly
done it for the
counts
wrong
in the
reasons
same
still.
vein as app integration
hmm
or AR even.
The problem is app integration AR is different because what's the 18 plus thing doing? Which the branding I still think is stupid, but the idea is good.
Mhm.
It's going after the
Yes.
core audience you already have and strengthening it. Well,
Right,
with
but
the AR,
did you need to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, they
that
did.
audience was already there though.
but yeah, they
See-
wanted to retain them.
Well, see,
Retention is
they
good.
wanted to they wanted to retain it, but they also wanted to expand upon it. So the
Okay,
idea,
the expansion I get. Okay.
the idea is that you want to make sure that all of the casual shoppers who are embarrassed to buy toys have permission from their mother, i.e., Lego, telling them that they can buy the toy now.
Mama Lego. That's
And I will
so
say, in the last 10 years, Lego has actually done a great job of giving a perception of their brand that is adult friendly. Like, actually,
Yes,
that's actually
they've
like,
done
as someone
one
who's
of
a
the
big
only
Lego
things they've
fan,
done is-
that's one of the first things I get out of the way in, like, questions with a girl considering dating
Mhm.
is making sure, like, I have this hobby. Because, back when I remember that was still a weirder thing. Like, literally
Yep.
never has a girl ever acted like it's the slightest bit weird. It's
Not
just
more.
completely
It's
accepted.
it's already so commonplace, but this is more for the six figures 30 40-year-old generation who
Mhm.
still believe that, oh, you should probably go to college for literally everything, and also would probably need permission from their elderly
Yeah.
mother to buy the toy that's $400.
Mhm.
It's just the perception of you have our permission now, and they've done that flawlessly.
Except for the boxes, I think they could be a bit nicer, but mostly
Yeah,
The boxes
flawlessly.
can be
Take away
the
the
boxes
black
can be more exciting.
background. Yeah.
Look at the 90-year anniversary sets.
Oh, those are so beautiful.
Oh.
It proves the point through and through. Diagon Alley is still one of the best selling sets that they have on the market. It's aged 16 plus and has a colored
Yeah.
box. You know what also is just like that? Ninjago City Gardens, regarded as one of the most incredible Ninjago
I saw that
sets
in a
ever made.
Walmart yesterday.
Yes.
A Walmart.
So speaking of expanding their horizons, they have a brand. It's the same 3-month deal with their exclusives. So all of the Lego Icon stuff will now start showing up in your typical retailer
Perfect.
in most regions. So that means beautiful discounts, by the way.
Mhm.
But that's something that's going to be a bit more commonplace. But one thing that was really interesting is that some sets like the Vespa, that doesn't fall under the direct-to-consumer Lego-only catalog because it's under like $100 or something. So those will immediately show up in stores typically. It just depends on the item. So like Horizon Zero Dawn the tall neck is everywhere, as opposed to, oh, you can only buy this at Lego.com. Well, it's supposed to be. It's really popular. But that's another reach out that they've done in trying to get that market, and it's remarkable the effort that they're going in to do so, but then it almost feels like overreaching as well, because that's eating into their shelf space for plenty of other things, which means that stuff that's on those shelves are going to disappear off those shelves and never come back a lot faster, and it's a lot of stuff that kids are going to want to buy. And I can respect that, especially with how prevalent online consumerism is now. But it's just a shock for me to see, for as someone who was there before the Disney Castle hit. That was the turning point for direct to consumers. Is that's everywhere. Once that set hit, suddenly the realization of, oh, adults like this, oh that, we need to start getting into this, and yet they still don't want to hire adult fans. But
Oh,
that's
actually,
beside
that
the
was on my list because you had mentioned that. And I think that was actually
Mhm.
one of the things that prompted us, because originally we were talking about just having you on for a game. That I feel like we had this short back and forth on Twitter where you mentioned the not hiring fans.
Yes.
Speaking of Nintendo comparison, Nintendo Japan has this same policy.
Yes.
Really?
Miyamoto specifically, I have very interesting views on Shigeru Miyamoto. He's a brilliant man who
Yes.
can't do business if his life depended on it.
Correct. But they look to him for those answers anyway.
And as he gets older, as I think as happens with most people, I mean, even ourselves will see it in. As you get older, some of your personality flaws become more dominant.
Yes, but then also your age starts to show too, and
Yeah.
it's like, this is not the 90s anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even back then, Miyamoto was against so much. Like, Iwata and Miyamoto clashed heads a lot. Like, Star Iwata was like a personal hero of mine as far as business goes.
I can wholeheartedly agree.
Like, I did a presentation on him in college, and I like hated doing usually generic topic stuff, but I had so much fun with this presentation because his life was just
Amazing.
I usually don't say this about like public figures or celebrities or anything, but it was inspiring just because he was a good, honest man who wanted to do a good job, and that's what I like to see.
And from Rollerball to Kirby to
Mhm.
Pokemon, that you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're successful today, because he put the effort in.
Miyamoto has a huge ego, and that's helped him a lot.
Yes.
But
Yes, that has helped him a lot.
It also makes him, like, I feel like gatekeepy. Get people in, and not realizing now. I think this is why Nintendo's so slow to develop a lot of games now too, is because they're not hiring people in who have wanted to do this their entire life and have trained to do this their entire life.
And you wonder why Pokemon is getting a game every year.
Yep.
Because they're hiring fans.
Yep. Well, they have their own problems with that, of course, but
yeah,
if we could just reach a middle ground and like the quality and keeping all of this stuff in house and like actually getting stuff finished, we'd have a great deal going on. But
yeah.
But taking this back to Lego though.
Yes.
Darn now. Oh yeah, the hiring fans thing. That's really stupid because if you're so concerned about your brand, you need people that actually understand your brand, not from a numbers perspective. You need people that understand it, like what do people want to buy and how do they buy it.
It's literally free. Like, product training is now free. You don't have to product train because they already know it. That saves so much money. One of the really exciting things about my experience with where I was employed is that my boss was very much a yes man to everything that the company said, and then turned around and said no behind the camera.
I do think, well, I don't know. I feel like Lego does hire fans. Like
they do for designers.
They hire
they do hire
artists, not fans.
Okay, because I was just about to be like, okay, what about Neek Van Slag, Matt, and Nick Voss? Because they're the biggest Lego fans within the company that I can find right now.
If you look, you'll notice that they don't have an obvious fan showing in their history as Lego fans. However, they have lucrative Flickr accounts. And that is why they got hired.
I mean, because the thing that struck me about them as like really being Lego fans was when they came out about Galador. And as you can tell,
well, yeah, that's what you can tell.
I'm a
and that's
huge fan.
Nick and Neek are my personal heroes within Lego right now, and I also had the great opportunity to have met both of them. I even did a mock competition. I believe it was besides Nick for one, and he complimented my mini build, which is I'm very proud of that.
They're great people.
They are great.
They are. But the thing is, it's the dezyners who are doing what they're doing that you're like, they're a fan. They're a fan right there. You see what Cesar Suarez is doing over in Star Wars. You see what Nick and wherever Nick does, no matter where Nico, wherever they are, wherever Jamie and Amy are, Justin Ramsden. That whatever he touches becomes gold. When you hire,
is he the one with the shoot, what was it? Not fire hydrant. The fire extinguisher, yeah. Is he the guy with the fire extinguisher?
No.
Where he puts in the fire extinguisher into lilliterally everything?
No. That's
somebody else, yeah.
Justin Ramsden.
I don't know, it's just, I do like those little details.
Justin Ramsden is $400 Hogwarts Castle, Apocalypseburg, Stranger Things. He did Sanctum Sanctorum. He did the Spider-Man Bridge Battle. All that's just scratching the surface. He did Groot. It's all him.
And though these people are leaps and bounds ahead of their predecessors, and I don't mean to knock the people who designed the sets that I grew up with at all.
Of course,
but you inspired people to be better than you. That's actually the biggest compliment, I think, to an artist. Yep. But these people before, you know why they're also better? Because the designers of my childhood, they didn't usually grow up building with Lego. They were usually hired in as adults and then introduced it. The designers now, again, like we talked about, they have their whole life to prepare for this job.
Yep, and then also like, especially around the time that I was born, it's like this was that realization that, oh no, the company's going down. Why is this? It's because they're hiring designers, not toy designers, and that was what did not help their situation. And so seeing the fruits of their changeover back in 2003, 2004, taking fruit in people who want to emulate that feeling and do leaps and bounds because of it, says a lot. And it's really interesting to see that they do not see that outside of, oh, you made this amazing set and it sold tons, you should do this set too. There's a reason why it's so good.
And a lot of it is, I feel like, especially with Nick and Neek, it's because I think they are into a lot of the same themes I was growing up. There's now a legacy in so many of the sets they build, and it makes me feel more connected to them as a fan. Like, Junkbot is up on some of my Ninjago City shelves. That's awesome!
I mean, they single-handedly made Bionicle like a legacy within themes. Look at Hidden Side. It's all over. Like the DNA of of that and Adventures is all over Hidden Side. If it weren't for the AR thing, that would have been a beautiful theme.
So let's actually, this is a good point to transition. We could talk more and more about the fans too. All of these could be an individual episode. I just idiot.
Get a muffler.
I have to keep my window open or I'm gonna die during these summer podcasts. Yeah, I want to move forward just so we can cover some of these other things, because we talked about the AR bit and we are getting into that. I want to talk to the higher fans things. Lego, not only are they making a lot of money, they're investing a lot of money into things that don't make all the sense in the world.
I wanted to bring this up earlier. Yeah. So the thing is, it's mainly on environmental sustainability.
And I do want to be careful with this because I know it's highly political. Anyone knows me knows I'm a very political person. I don't make any secret of that like some other people, but I don't want this podcast to become about that.
That's a warning, Penny's not wrong.
Oh no, I know it's not wrong.
But so I want to preface this section by saying, regardless of how you feel about the social aspect of it, we want to discuss it as, is this good for the business? And is it sustainable? Truly sustainable?
So, I would like to open this segment by talking about an aspect that is fine in this endeavor. Ever since they started to talk about making a sustainable brick, my question was, why is the infinitely reusable Lego brick being targeted for this thing? And then I was shown through people who I worked with, but also through what they were planning on going for, is that the idea is to just make it so that they last the same amount of time, they're as good as they could possibly be, but when we inevitably end up putting them in a landfill, when they decay, it's not going to leave a trail behind, and I'm personally fine with that as long as it doesn't compromise the product quality.
That's exactly where I'm at.
And
that's fine.
That's perfectly fine by me. And then you ignore that and wonder what in the world is going on. Now, there's the paper bag situation. That's fine. It's like a coloring page. That's cool. I'm gonna miss that wonderful feeling of the plastic bags when I shake the box. But you know, when it comes to that is so. That to me, that doesn't matter as much. Like that change happened, I'm like, oh, that's so sad. Oh well. Then it started to trickle into everything else.
Yep. So, and I know what you're getting to, but real quick on the brick part, like I remember, like, because this, what is it, 2014, 2015 when they first announced the plant-based brick thing?
I forget specifically.
But it was a long time ago, and I was like,
yes. It was more like 2015, 16, because
it was
that was
there,
when because that was like to go along with it. They announced that they were going to put out the plant-based or the plants from plants. Yeah. And then of course you were like, oh, we're gonna
I was going to eat one of those for a video, but then I ended up having major stomach ulcers, and I did not think putting something else into it would be a good idea.
It's not from the pieces. You can eat the pieces at your leisure.
Technically, no.
Sure. Actually, no, don't do that. I'm not. Please,
don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. Don't. It doesn't.
I don't need that on my conscience, please.
Like, if it doesn't taste like sugar, the sugar cane that's inside the plants from plants is meant to be at a molecular level as opposed to being. To each their own. Um, but
but yeah, when I went back there and I was talking about that, I think because that was around the time we started this podcast, all those 8 years ago when they announced this,
Yeah,
and
that
it
was
was like,
before like episode 100.
so
Or no, it
I'd
was
have
after,
to find,
right?
and I'd
Yeah.
never be able to find a quote of me actually talking about this because those old episodes are so cringy. But I was like, you know what? In the end, it's not my thing. I really don't care. I think it's fine if you want to find something, but only if it helps the consumer, not hurts them.
and
It,
so far with the bag perspective, that's great. With the smaller box thing, that's okay too, as long as you're
The
clearly showing us
plant-based
that it's
bricks, I like
okay.
that too, because that's going to give you more opportunities to actually build some kind of, a renewable resource where you can get more product out there.
Yeah.
Because if you're using less, say like say you're using just like straight up petroleum reserves,
Mhm.
they're getting harder and harder to find now. But if
Yep.
you're using plants, that's an easy reserve that you can renew.
mhm.
Especially,
So yeah, I like
they
that
can do
because it allows you
themselves,
to,
too.
because then you can use that and you can keep getting it. You can make more product and you can get it out to consumer easier.
And then
Boom.
ideally, if that worked, we would not see an increase in set costs.
Exactly.
But then here's the thing. Lego, it isn't like, sure, it's a trend for people to go and try to find a sustainable option. Lego is pioneering this.
Mhm.
They are not taking they're taking other people's examples, of course, just to compare and contrast, of course, but they are spearheading this themselves. And that is where the cost comes in.
Well, hang on. What do you mean by this? What specifically is this?
I think it means
that
the
they're
plant-based
spearheading?
bricks.
The plant-based bricks.
bricks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the plant-based materials. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So the plant-based materials, like everybody is trying to go that route and try to find some way to make it work. But they are you see. Let's bring the Hasbro example back. You see how they're changing their packaging for Transformers. You can't see inside the box anymore. It's just a
Well,
picture on the
yeah.
front.
So,
But
and that was the start of something. So it
Yeah.
started off they were just doing like full window packaging. It was fine, plastic window and everything.
Sure.
Then they decided, oh, we're going to do partial window packaging, and it's mostly cardboard. Now we're just going to do no window, so it's just going to be open to the to the elements or whatever. So
And-
people will just come by and be like LeBron James and just take his head, which
they're
they
already
have
doing
done.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're already doing that. They're already doing like very, very just
Technically, they're
disgusting repacks.
they're-
Disgusting repack. And I've
yes.
seen some of them too
Yeah.
at my local stores too.
because people
It's
are buying them.
disgusting. Yeah, right?
But
Right?
yeah,
But now they're just going full on, just no window, just buy at your own risk. Basically.
on the LeBron James thing, they released a version of Bulkhead from Transformers Prime. His head locks into the torso. You have to put like something in there to force it out, or a lever at the back. I forget which specifically.
I have that one. I have that figure. Yeah.
So every single Bulkhead has their head missing. Oh wait, it's in their torso. No consumer knows that, so they just think that it's bad product.
I've seen that around.
That's the thing.
I've also seen some of Legacy Blaster. I don't know if you're familiar with that figure.
Yes.
Legacy Blaster. They've literally taken his head.
Yep.
Some of them just take the weapons because they can just reach in there.
Because you can just reach in and pull them out.
Yeah.
On the Lego end of the whole packaging thing, the downscaling of the boxes has not been much of an issue because the product inside is still the same.
I feel like actually since they did that, I feel like the boxes got it bigger again shortly after they got smaller.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
But also the good thing with the boxes getting smaller is that now you have the opportunity to fit more product on the shelf.
Exactly.
So it's a twofold. It's a twofold increase, right?
Yes, and then they started experimenting how to seal them. I don't know if you guys remember late 2018, late 2018, early 2019. Everything that was about $70 or more had this special punch tab on the side, as well as the tape seals. That was their first endeavor.
They're doing that with like
Also,
$100 sets now.
A good thing that came out of this as well. They brought back the bound instruction books rather than multiple smaller ones. And I did like that.
Which that's been a plus. Actually, the punch tab ones is not what I'm talking about. The usual, like in the $10 set with the little punch tabs on it. This was a very special kind of punch tab. It had it so that an end of the cardboard actually forked into the box and went outward to lock it shut until you punctured the hole, pulled out the fork to open up the box. And that went terribly because people were really ticked off that they did that, which, of course, the focus groups would have told you that. But
I never noticed.
Never noticed at all.
That's what I always wonder with like Lego going through, like everything is like extensively focus group and practice. Like, well,
except here.
Yeah.
Like I've always been the joke that the app stuff has always been tested by the kids who don't get to play with apps. And
Yeah.
so when they're told to play with apps, they go, "Oh, it's the most amazing thing." When in reality, like, this is just because they have no idea what it should be. Anyways, with those tabs, they learned that that's not something that they wanted to do. So they started to figure out how to just put the $10 size punch tabs on everything. So now almost every single set, $100 or less, has the punch tabs that tear open the side of the box. And it's not my favorite thing. I find sets that have seals on them and I go completely shocked to see that it's actually happening, even though like that's probably not long for this world. But and it's changes like that. But then you start to see the strangeness peep through, and strange it is.
And again, something that also happened around this time is that they've made no secret how much money they're investing into all of this. And again, they have the right to do whatever they want with their profit margins. But when you're laying off long-time loyal members of your staff who have done great things while investing into something that has no guarantee return.
We love you, Kevin Hinkle.
Yep. And Greg Farsty recently.
Oh, Greg. Oh.
Yeah, and
my heart actually.
I know a lot of people are like, "Oh,
Greg,
Lego doesn't do as much books, written media." For one, they do actually still have written media, and for someone that's been with you that long, you can find something.
Yeah, written media.
You can find
that's
something.
marketing.
It's just that nobody wants to. I could talk
like
about the Garmadon comic and how that's been an absolute success right now, but that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, I just read the first 2 issues. Liam actually got a bunch of them like off of eBay,
like 8
and just gave me like a couple of he gave me a couple of the extra variant covers he had for a couple of gonzos that I accumulated.
There you go.
And pretty good start.
Yeah, the writing is great, but they've not been doing a great job
I'd say
marketing it.
like nowadays, like comic book art is just terrible.
Yes,
but this is actually quite good looking. Some of this looks really nice.
Yep.
Like the presentation, like it reminds me of Bionicle.
Yep.
I hate to keep bringing Bionicle up, but like the presentation and the writing and all of it, it reminds me of like back in 07, Stuart Sager, Greg Farsty. Perfect.
But that is technically a compliment, only because that was heyday for written media and Lego. But the problem is that all of Ninjago's on Netflix. Why go anywhere else? And that's part of the problem.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think this, as much as I enjoy and they said this is going to be canon, I can guarantee everyone it's not going to stay canon.
Oh no.
Probably
just
not.
like the Dark Island trilogy, that was going to be canon. It's not going to stay canon.
Yeah, like if it's not on visual media, it's not canon.
Dark Island trilogy's canon.
I know, no, they haven't. They had it on the wall and everything, but I don't think every detail of it's going to stay canon over time.
Yeah,
probably not.
The details aren't going to be, they're not really going to matter.
I think like the idea
depends on if it matters at all. Come the next year.
Yeah, that's another.
I mean, there's already plot points in Garmadon that have already been undone by.
Well, we don't know how it ends up at this point.
We shall see.
The thing is, Crystallized is going to be over before the Garmadon comic is over, and
because it's having such a hard time getting it out because comic book shops don't want to take it in because they're still running on the shelves. Stuff like that. Aside from the endeavors, back to the packaging stuff. Because I could talk about their extra endeavors, wink, for hours. But it's when we started to see what that would look like when if they went that extra mile with Hidden Side and video. It's just like, yeah, the box is art as opposed to it being a render. Oh, everything is in boxes as opposed to in blind bags.
Oh no, we didn't even talked about that yet.
And it's
and that started with video.
And that started with video, and it should have ended there.
Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah, that's true. Video is no secret a failure. Why did they decide let's replicate it?
So that's the thing. Like you're still operating on the assumption that video is coming back. It's not coming back. It got discontinued.
Oh no, they already said that it's not coming back.
Yeah.
It's been discontinued. So we got to make that clear.
But I'm saying so the blind boxes, I actually think those are definitely part of what didn't do well. I saw them at Lego Store. They're nowhere near as popular as CMFs, even though the video figures actually had more amazing parts than the collectible minifigure series.
Yes, they did.
And I bought one of them, but then I was like, but then me and I think Ford actually no, we got like the same one in our packs.
Yep.
No, you actually got both.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
Oh.
I opened one for you.
Oh, okay. But okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But then I was like, well, I'm not gonna get any more of these because I might just get the same thing, and that's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Pretty
and
much.
that's the problem.
And some of them are pretty
Well, a
good, like you
problem.
said.
Okay,
like, they've
before
got
we
really
go-
cool parts and such.
Ben, if you had
Yeah.
any more about the packaging stuff, let's get that out of the way before we go into the new CMF packaging.
I mean, technically, this is tangential into that.
Yeah.
So, and I have a lot to say here. Yes, my goodness. One of the biggest issues with the video is just, well, it was all of it, but to be more specific with the blind boxes themselves, people have the precedence. Lego blind package characters come in bags, so I can feel through them, so that I can get the one that I want.
And it's part
And
of
do
the
you know what
fun.
And do you know what happened when they didn't get that opportunity with video?
They didn't-
Thousands of dollars in loss because
Mhm.
people thumbed open the edges of the box to see inside.
Yeah.
They tore open the
So
box to see.
that's another
they
thing
wanted.
with this method is like
Mhm.
because those
is-
bags, they're hard to rip open with just your hands.
Yes,
But these are a lot easier to get open.
Yeah.
And we've already
Yeah.
seen with Hasbro stuff recently that it's very easy to tamper with a package like this.
yes.
There's a
Why did
reason
you
that the
do
clamshell
this?
package was invented.
Eh,
I'm not saying
it's
the
not
clamshell
doing
package
well
is
for
great.
him though.
No, I don't like the clamshell package. It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean
It's-
these things
it
are
is a
so
waste.
flimsy you could literally just rip them in half.
But yeah, the clamshell package, there's a reason why they did it and begin with, is because things used to always be in paper-based packaging. But there was theft and there was damaged product. That's the reason we went away from it. Is there a happy medium? I think so.
Yes, there's always a happy medium, but you have to be willing to say, yes, this part is going to have plastic in it. Let's source a sustainable plastic to make it happen. Like for tape seals, that's something that you can easily come by to take care of that kind of stuff and still have tape on your boxes and not have to do with punched holes, as an example, or have a plant-based plastic foil to make your screens for your Transformers packaging. Sure, it has plastic, but it's sustainable. Or make an entire clamshell inside of a box that you can just feel comfortable throwing it away because it's going to decompose nice.
There's a million more solutions than just being,
Yes.
I hesitate to use the term, but radical about it.
Yep. See, that's just the big deal, though. The idea is, it doesn't matter how much loss. Look at us being green. And it is totally okay for them to take that effort. But there is a point where it appears as lunacy as opposed to, okay, this is good.
Also,
And
wasting
we're
money is
getting
not
there.
green in itself. Like,
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
Like burning cash is not good
Nope.
at all to anybody.
especially not
it?
when you're doing that at the expense of, like, laying people off.
Yep. But then you think of it on the kids level here. The amount of chaos they've ensued on the CMF side of things in the past couple years has just been stuff of legends here. Remember when they decided to increase everything by $5 and we were like, whoa, that's actually starting to get really expensive with wait, what series was it? Was it the DC series?
I think it was the DC series, the first one that came, because it was the one that came when they started including the little stands for them to fly.
Yep. And then at that point after that, they shrunk the series down to 12 characters, and their excuse is because they felt that kids weren't able to afford the whole series before, so they decided to make less characters so it's easier to collect them, completely ignoring the fact that it's not the fact that they can't afford them all, it's that they can't afford them to begin with. If they're $5, that's outside of the edge of impulse shopping. It needs to be.
I was still mad when they went to $4.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
There's
I was
inflation to
mad when they
consider.
went to $3.50 for Harry Potter.
I got all my Harry Potters for $1 because Walmart was just trying to get rid of them.
Yep.
I got like 20 minifigures for $1 each.
Well, that's just it. Like the amount of people shopping for them became less, and so they started to linger around. Like you could still find Lego Ninjago movie. You could still find all of this stuff all around here, and it was like people aren't shopping these because they're too prevalent. Why are you maybe raising the prices is good if you're making less, but they weren't, and it just started making more waste of the shelf space, and it then culminated in this idea that let's make less figures a series to make the boxes smaller so that we don't have to worry about this in the future, in turn blaming it on the kids not being able to afford the whole series when it's really that they can't afford a single one in general. And then to top it all, after, what is this? This is 11, 12, 13 years now of the blind bags?
Yeah, it started in 2010.
It's been 12 years, and
Mhm.
that is multiple generations of kids who are programmed to understand that the bagged figure is what Lego does for the little blind package characters. It's always in a bag. Bag this, bag that. So the moment that you take away the bag, they can no longer identify it.
I also
Unless
think
they
it's
know
going
for
to
sure.
point out the $5 price tag on it, because before people were just
Yes.
doing it out of habit. Now you've suddenly shocked people out of their habit.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's like they're no longer feeling for them anymore, if they even were in the first place. But then you have these kids who are casual shoppers who are impulse shopping with their parents. They go, "Where are the minifigures, Mom?" Looking at the box minifigures in front of them, not realizing they're the same thing, because for the past 10 years their parents grew up on, and now they are under the impression that they have to come in the bags. And then when they realize that what happened, the sticker shock, of course, being the next thing that ends up causing issue. It's such a strange snowball of situations that it just works out so
Also,
perfectly
there's an article on
against them.
BrickFinex that said Lego does not plan to increase the price. This time next year, I would be
I
not
doubt that.
surprised if it goes up to $6 a figure.
Yeah, I doubt that. Also,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but this new package it looks like a pudding cup.
It does.
Like it's not just me. Okay, yeah.
No,
It
but
looks like a pudding cup.
the weird part
Like I
is
could
that
peel it off and just be like, nice
we
chocolate.
like they showed off some of the test designs that they had, and they actually were going to go the pudding cup like route. This thing is literally a tab, like it's a box that you open up. It's not going to have the peel off of the front, which doesn't imply that, or that's at least what they said
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
happen.
fine.
But yeah,
Yeah.
which is fine. But it's it's not going to give off the same feeling, no pun intended. And it's just going to cause a whole mess of brand identity issues, because this is what people know. And when
Mhm.
you don't gradually change that, which technically they did try to gradually change it with video and then into Mario and now into this, these are not the same markets. They don't cross pollinate, is what
Yeah.
how I like to put it. They're not the same
Like
groups.
video didn't have a market.
wouldn't-
Mario.
If these
I'm
were
joking.
still $3, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be actually upset, because then I'd feel like, okay,
Nope.
I can actually, actually that might be fun. It's
Yeah.
$3. It's not something I have to worry about. I can just get whatever. Actually, that sounds
5,
fun.
maybe 6.
But
No
when
way.
it goes to 5 or 6, I'm like, no, I can't do that. I that's $5. That's like a meal.
$60 for this? Do you know what kind of a cool, amazing set with 12 minifigs that I could buy at that price?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many sets that I could buy to get even more minifigures than that?
Mm-hmm.
That likely use the same pieces, because all the CMF exists for is to make pieces to reuse these days.
And not to mention, I don't think I'm the only one that, for the mainline series, the non-licensed series of CMF, a lot of people are getting fatigued with some of the designs. They've
Mhm.
not been as exciting, yet they're
Yeah.
devaluing them at the same
They're all
time.
following the same pattern. There's always a food. There's a food costume. There's always it's even right here in this image. Like there's always a food costume. There's always an animal costume. There was some kind of space character.
And
Something
they
like that.
even
Yay.
and for like their 90th anniversary, they didn't think, let's make a series that like has a figure representing like old themes, something
Yeah.
that'd be
It's a
exciting.
costume party,
Instead it's like, oh,
yay!
we're doing costume party for the 3rd time.
Costume party,
Great.
Series 18.
As if we haven't had enough costumes already.
Why not do more?
We put 2 in every series for the past 5 years.
Series
it
18
feels like?
bombed. Series 18 bombed, and it was a costume party. Like people, everybody wanted the policeman. That was it.
Yep.
Those were one of the only CMF series that were
let's face
ever
it.
on our shelves where they realized that they couldn't scrap them because they lost so much money from it that they actually had to discount it further to make sure they at least got something back.
Wow.
Yeah, it's because the food costume stuff were cool when there's nothing else like them. Because when you break them down,
Mhm.
it's just a food costume. It's not actually much you can do with it.
Right.
Yep. It's not as exciting when there's one every wave. When it's like, oh, once in a blue moon, oh, look at that, it's a food costume, it's so cool. And then the next series, it's an animal instead, so that you're not like saturating that, and not they can tell they're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, and then City's over here making an ice cream costume. Like it's not within CMFs anymore. It's
Yeah, it's
transcending,
all over.
and it ruins the what is it? The novelty of the CMF because of the fact that they now all the themes can CMF, and it's like, then I don't want CMFs anymore. And you know what? Maybe they realize that, and that's what this whole thing is about.
I feel like they're gonna go. I feel like this could kill CMFs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's also going to end up killing the Mario Blind Bag series too, because those are now $6.
Oh,
Yikes!
I already didn't buy them because I'm still mad that there's no minifigures in the Mario line.
I can respect that. I do love how adorable.
And I would say
I'm fine with that. It's just I'm a huge minifigure guy. You know, I like I said, was the one thing I collected all of it. It's all the Ninjago figures. I don't have all the sets. I don't have all the dragons. I have all the figures because I love minifigures. They're so nice and small and easy to store and
have so much personality.
And I love Nintendo too, as people probably realize listening to this, and the fact that I still have not gotten them together, it hurts me.
Maybe one day.
One day. It has to be one day. Well, unless the Lego screws things up so bad.
Well, here's the thing. The IP is too lucrative. They know that in the event that the Mario digital figure ends up dying, which it is falling like a meteor from space, and it's gonna go kabooey so fast, especially in the direction that we're going when it comes to being able to forward things. They're not gonna go, oh, people don't care about Mario anymore. No. There's gonna be okay. We need to normal Lego this.
I hope. This is one situation where Nintendo asked. With the Nintendo, the company that won't release a new F-Zero because they feel it'd be too the same as the old one, said, hey, can we just do what you do with everything else?
And they was like, no, and you're going to help us make it not that. And like, huh? So the whole reason Mario's a success is because Nintendo designed the technology. Lego just provided the toy. And now Lego's been handed the keys to the castle, and it's now Lego's thing, and they're proving that through and through.
Which, to be fair to the Mario, my little brother has, and he does love it. It's a cool thing.
Yes, absolutely.
It is. I just don't think it's going to be long-term sustainable.
Yep, every single one of my siblings has Mario.
Yeah, I was gonna say before, like, imagine if the blind bag, enemies or side character or whatever were cheaper. Like if they were like $2-3 a piece. Like, I mean, just imagine like amassing armies of enemies for Mario to fight.
Why not make these
awesome?
Why not make these $3 and have it just be the character?
Exactly. Like do something like that. It's easy.
But then
why are you trying to reinvent the wheel?
Well, they're not doing that because that means that people would go for the Mario figure instead of the CMFs that are at $5, and they don't want to do that, so they all have to be priced the same. That worked well with Unikitty, didn't it, Lego?
Oh, I forgot about Unikitty.
Unikitty. Did the sets for that? Like, I know the CMS went out. Did the sets ever actually like come out?
I can't recall ever seeing them. Come to think of it.
Did the show ever come out?
The show. Well, the thing is that everybody doesn't know about the show because it had to premiere on Cartoon Network first,
which is also the problem.
Which is also the problem. That's been Ninjago's problem for years. No one is watching television anymore. They're all streaming it. Where is it? You can't even. I don't even think you could find Unikitty right now, aside from maybe Tubi TV. I don't know.
I didn't know whatever aired.
The sets did launch, and they just rotted on shelves alongside Powerpuff Girls. So there you go.
Speaking of Tubi, just a fun fact I want to mention because a lot of people really don't know. For one, if you're poor, go check out Tubi because there's some interesting stuff on there. For another, there's a Lego channel on Tubi where they just have tons of Lego media playing all the time. I just found that interesting.
It's pretty great. With all of those, with Unikitty, you could, if you wanted to, you could go to your local bookstore that carries Lego, and they will probably still have the entire line there.
Oh wow.
For 50% off, and no one wants it. Just like the Lego Movie 2 sets that are like the spa or the spaceship. That's all white and blue, which is such a shame. But yeah.
But yeah, I do believe this is going to be unless someone takes the reins at Lego that looks at things from a different perspective, this could very well be the death of CMF.
Yep.
Wow.
Because like I said, I already was rarely buying the mainline ones because they were boring, and I'm definitely not going to buy them now because most of them are boring, and now I don't even know I'll get the one I want.
Says the guy that got the last 2 different lines or whatever of
Of
the
CMF?
licensed ones.
Of the licensed
Yeah.
ones. Okay, I'm the mainline ones.
You
won't
got
have an
all the
issue.
Muppets, you got all the
No,
Marvel
I still
stuff,
only
you
have the
got
Gonzo.
all the Harry Potter
since
stuff.
I was getting all the Muppets, and they announced the price increase for everything. Like, wow, I got to put that money aside if I want the crystallized sets. I'm gonna get a Fozzie and Kermit to go with my Gonzo, and I think that's all I'm gonna be able to do. I was gonna get
I'm
the
curious,
whole thing.
what did you do with the second Gonzo?
Oh, I threw him in a
Publicly.
drawer with all my other extra minifigures.
All right, fair
But
enough.
no, like that's like the first thing is like, yeah, I literally stopped buying stuff now because I knew it's gonna get worse in the future.
Mm-hmm. Which is not good because they want you to buy now. That's why there's double points in the middle of June. Who does that?
Hmm.
And the reason why they brought the 90th anniversary promo out this early too is like they want people to buy now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like they think that they're expecting some pushback for sure. I don't
People
think
aren't buying now because they don't have the money to buy now, and they're
I-
not going to have enough later, so
Mm-hmm.
they're
But
caught in
it's
a
like-
really tight,
Yeah,
real tight bubble.
they don't realize just how impactful it's going to be, and that's not to their benefit, but that's something that I have always put towards when it comes to handling Lego's new endeavors is that you need to treat them like a teenager. They're not young enough to be disciplined, but they're not old enough for you to just ignore them and let them be. So ignore them without keeping a watchful eye. So you need to be the parent that lets them do what they intend to do and let them pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way they're going to learn.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's what
actually something.
Yeah, that's
There's one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, do we have time for it? We're already an hour and a half in, but I really would like to talk about it. It's another thing that's on top of this. It just feels like we talked about how tone deaf Lego is. Their social media, I feel, has been so exemplary of that.
Ooh, yeah, okay. I was gonna bring up Lego, like the quality control and stuff, but no, this.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about
this takes precedence.
It's like it's so bad that it's art.
I know.
Wow, it's bad.
So, I don't know if either of you guys saw this, but I had said something with when the Muppet series announced they had this like weird cardboard stage. I'm like, why is that not made out of Lego? I'm just like, it wasn't actually even meant for them. And they responded to it and doubled down. And I'm like, I wasn't really angry at you before, but now I kind of am.
Did we screenshot that?
I have it still, but yeah.
Yeah, because
I have no
I'd like
context.
to get the exact wording because it's the exact wording in this and all the
It
subtleties
was like
within
something
that
like,
really
no,
make it.
bricks or not, the show must go on, is what they said. I'm like,
Yeah, and it's like, oh, you could just make it yourself
I was it,
or something like that.
I don't.
mean, sure. I mean, that's valid in the idea of like, oh, kids need to be creative, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
But then you just give it to them, so it's like
it
you're
was.
not exactly giving them the avenue to
I'm
be
trying
creative.
to find it, but it's not even about that. It's the fact that, like, you didn't need to. There's no benefit in you responding to me here. I'm obviously not a person that is going to just put up with your happy-go-lucky hijinks and tone deaf and everything. Why are you like provoking me? It just feels like, and I don't know this for certain, but you probably don't know this about us, Pen, but way a lot of the BC started was way back on the Lego message boards. And there was a big thing that Lego did back then that actually got us off. It wasn't just us aging out of it at that point, because it was definitely for kids. They moderated every post. But a big thing Lego did around 2012, 2013.
Lego Live. Huh?
Not even
not
before
yet.
that.
Before this.
Before
wait,
the
that's
time
right.
of Lego
Go.
Life.
They
Continue,
contracted
sorry.
out their mod squad.
Yep,
Mhm.
that sounds about right.
And they came back, and they were the most insufferable people I've met on the internet.
Is it the situation where they started to respond like customer service does
Yep,
to everything
and
that you do?
with that, but with
Yeah.
like an added, like, oh, how do you do, fellow kids, flair?
Keep building on, little ones.
Yeah, basically like that. Like, before it was like this sort of mystery, like elusive around a mod. If you were on forums as a kid, anyone listening like I was, you knew how it was. Like, the mods that are children from, they kept a good distance from you. Just, they're just there to keep you safe.
Yep.
But then they're like interacting heavily with stuff, and then suddenly they're really concerned about these arbitrary rules that weren't hurting anyone. Like if anyone started to get a bit off topic, and they're like, "We're closing your topic immediately," and promoting then just not consistently promoting stuff. People got like softcore literotica through them now.
See, one of my favorite parts about modern LEGO social media is that basically in my experience of social media during the time that I've been on it, everybody wants to be the original Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account.
Yeah.
I want to be a person too. Stop being a person. You're bad at this. You are a corporation. Behave like it and act like it. I don't care if the person behind the screen has to act like, oh, I'm so creaky. Look at me talking about your favorite thing. It's
alienating.
It's like I feel like I'm being patronized.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I felt with this one. Okay, I've got a picture of the tweet. Let me put it up on the screen here, and I'll also just link it in our chat, the recording channel.
Yes, because I cannot read that screen.
And like, it's not the biggest thing ever. Like, I wasn't, I was just like throwing something out there. I'm like, why not make it out of bricks? And then, I don't know, maybe it bugs me more than it should. But
yeah,
it felt
that response is just like
dies
of cringe.
It was just like,
wow, dies of cringe.
Exactly. No, but see, my favorite thing that I get to enjoy is being a Star Wars fan who doesn't act like the other Star Wars fans who just love Star Wars for being Star Wars. Some of the stuff that LEGO has said is just been like, either you aren't a fan and are oblivious, or you are so incredibly tone deaf at doing your job that you let that fly. Oh my goodness gracious, I feel so sorry for you.
Do you have an example off the top of your head? Not that you have to link it, or just like in a description, because I haven't seen this. And
okay.
I'm interested.
So, they posted a picture of the heads for Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. And then somebody who very rightfully asked, where are the prequel helmets? Because, people want their clone troopers.
Oh, no, I recall this now.
And then LEGO responds with, technically, they are.
No, they're not!
I remember this now.
They're a prequel to the sequel trilogy, right? Gotcha.
Are you a stupid? Why?
It comes up when the tone is either they're really stupid or they think they're really smart.
What?
And if you think you're really...
That's not even... that doesn't even reach the boundaries of clever, okay? That doesn't even, like, there's a mountain you gotta get
But that's
over
why that's why I brought up the mod squad LEGO message boards.
Climb.
I do wonder if it's the same contracting company that handles their social medias they switched over to then.
Like, I bet those people got up pretty early in the morning to come up with a response like that.
And
that's just... Oh.
And you know what? Our wonderful ancient meme of graphic design as my passion using Microsoft Paint. Bless those people who feel that way. But when they get hired by a corporation that's making this much money. Again, we're going back to LEGO Star Wars. Did you guys ever see the promotional images for the Book of Boba Fett sets? And how it might be some of the worst Photoshop to ever come out of the company.
I believe I did.
Yeah.
It is the stuff of Legends. We're just sitting here going, huh? It wouldn't surprise me if it was the same people doing the instructions.
All right.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the instructions, like in the quality stuff. I don't feel like we're gonna have enough time, unfortunately, to go over
we
all of it.
We can start right now.
Okay, let's do some quick points.
Okay, we'll do it.
What the?
Just why? Like, we're paying for a premium product here.
Yes.
And you're not
Well,
giving
here's
us
also
the best.
thing is, LEGO's not saving money on this. It's the same amount of ink.
So not only is it the same amount of ink, but they're spending more money on hiring somebody to render the images on their front because they are not found anywhere else. They pay someone to do that. On top of the fact that they did respond to this, by the way, and their excuse is, we want to make it consistent with the new paper bags.
Do you mean the ones
Which
that still aren't out?
Okay, one is going from plastic to paper. One's just going from paper to paper, but your ink quality is just
the
garbage.
Also, this comes right off.
As well done.
I have a whole video about. I dislike a lot of things about Ninjago Core, but they had beautiful instructions.
They were gorgeous. But then I remember opening my copy of the Crystal King and going, "Oh my gosh,
I
what
think
is
I think
this?"
that was the first thing I saw. It was like, oh no, these are in every. It's not just because I think we got a Harry Potter set was one of the first, and then the Mandalorian. And I'm like, okay, is it just the licensed ones now or something? No,
Completely ignoring that Emma's Space Academy had already released and had those instructions in it. It's yeah, it's
I'm trying to actually
some,
find a
something
picture of
else.
those somewhere.
But what
Okay,
ended?
I'll put this on the podcast for listener. I'm putting up one from the Brick Fan was the best quality I could find one of these of the Groot set. Just because I think some people might not totally be aware of this yet, even.
Yeah, that's not good. That is not good.
And their excuse is that it's so that it's consistent with the paper bags. You know, the ones that aren't included in any of the sets.
Mm-hmm. And okay, there's that. But then, okay, the design being the same across the board is bad. But then that, okay, maybe is a poor excuse, but an excuse nonetheless. Then two, why is the render so soulless? Why is it like the most fake-looking render I've seen LEGO do in a long time? Three, on several of these, I think all of them actually, the brand logo or the theme logo is not even transparent.
Nope.
Ooh.
It's so minimal effort. But the thing is that doesn't matter because someone has been hired to do this.
And they got paid more than me, probably.
Probably.
Also, don't say that there's no soul. At least he's not doing a T-pose in this.
No,
Hey, at least
I would love that. That would make it better. You know, if we're gonna go this direction, let's just go all the way.
I was so hoping that when I opened up the Crystal King box set, it would just be the figure doing a T-pose, the big centaur figure. I would have absolutely adored it, but then it would be so memeable. It would have been wonderful. But one of my favorite blunders though is that the Golden Dragon, the new Golden Dragon set, all of the minifigures on the front of the instruction booklets have no leg printing.
Oh.
And it took people until last week to figure that out, despite it being out almost a whole month. See, I wouldn't mind particularly if in that small window they just shrunk down the box image to fit in that spot. But the fact that they're paying someone extra money to make a completely brand new render, despite the box already being a render they already paid money on, to do this. LEGO is not saving money here. They are not saving money at all. Stop saying they're saving money.
That's when people say, oh, these companies just care about money. Sometimes I wish they cared about money a little more.
Sometimes. See, it goes back to what you were saying about LEGO being privately owned. Like, man, I wish you had investors, because you would just be so scared out of your pants right now. But then I'm sitting here going, I don't want you to be, because you're able to make these kinds of great decisions when it's great and stupid decisions when it's stupid. And I'd rather you whittle through the stupid to get the good. But when it's only stupid is when it starts to get concerning.
They're just like, they're taking that fat stack of Benjamins and just applying a match to his face. That's what they're doing here.
It's like, oh,
wild.
you want money? Here, take the money. Take the money. I don't need it. Like,
just lighting their own cigarettes.
Like, people throw around the word privilege a lot these days.
Cigarettes are made of dollar bills.
Yeah, people throw around the word privilege a lot these days to where it almost means nothing. But this is actually the definition of privilege. People that are making these executive decisions and not realizing the repercussions, they're making them because they've had the privilege of coasting on people who are better at their job than they were.
They were coasting on an age of decadence, basically. Like, they lived through the age of decadence where LEGO was riding high every year on the year, and now they're in a point where, you know, things are not so good. I mean, largely out of their own control, but things are not so good, and they haven't adapted with the times.
That's the
and
thing
their way of adapting with the times is saying, oh, well, we're going to be even more luxury than before.
But that's the other thing about it is we talked about how they're constantly concerned
and they were
with
already
like
going
hitting their bottom line. Or not bottom line.
They didn't have there was still time to correct the course. I think
there is still
a lot of time to correct the course, and they didn't do that.
Nope.
And that's the thing. It's like I said, it's an issue I think with corporations in general. This is a larger culture, even the culture with stockholders at this point. Is they don't understand the difference between short-term gains and long-term profits.
Yep.
And but the thing is, Lego, you should have the luxury of not having to worry about that because you don't have shareholders. You should be
They're a
able to be
privately traded
smart.
company.
I don't think they're even privately traded either.
No, they're not privately traded. They're just privately.
Because
Oh, they're just privately
I would have
owned.
gotten a slice of
Wow.
that pie. If it was all internal.
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
they are privately owned.
Like,
And-
yeah, you have the advantage of not having to go to the whims of people that might not know any better on Wall Street.
No, but then their entire board is made up of those people.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
part of the
problem.
Look, they're making 3 billion krona. If we get on that, we get all that money, and it's like, yeah, at the cost of being able to actually, have people who want to spend money to do that.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah,
But
it's
also, there's just like they're
frustrating.
just chasing trends. Like they're chasing what the trends of what the other publicly traded companies.
Yeah, but
are
we already
doing.
talked about that. So if we want to talk about
Yeah,
quality,
and
we
we
should
and we
stay on
talked about
topic
that.
here.
So
But
yeah,
because there are other quality issues, Optimus Prime
Oh.
had an issue recently.
how many? Did you guys know there's a lot more than what
I
you
didn't-
think.
I actually did not know about even more.
So,
I was just the glaring one is I can't believe this got past quality control because it never would have back in the day.
which
The stickers on the legs.
oh,
Actually, I look
wait.
up Lego Optimus Prime, and now that's like the 7th result for images is why did Lego do this with a huge red circle on his calves?
My dear Liam.
and that was one of the first things that I gravitated towards. As a Transformers fan,
See,
I
that's
actually
what
like.
that's what
I
I did
literally
too.
like. I just made like my perfect like kit bashed custom slightly painted version of the Earthrise Optimus Prime mold, the best mainline Optimus Prime that you could possibly get currently
Yeah.
on the market. So I know that design like in and out. I've been handling it, staring at it for like 2.5 years now.
Probably broken it
Um,
into pieces and know every part by name.
Exactly. Like I've literally like taken it. Like I took the Netflix version, and I took the Earthrise main release version. I just crashed them together. So it's like the dark blue with the nice blue tinted windows on his chest.
Okay, we get it.
All
You
that
like
kind of
Optimus
stuff.
Prime.
And I'm getting too detailed here. I'm missing the point. The point is like I know all the details and where they are placed.
Mhm.
This got it wrong, and that was one of the first things that I saw. That's
So-
a problem.
Do you want to talk about structural integrity?
Oh no. And this
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. See, you happen to have a luxury of having someone who is literally looking at him and holding him in his hands right now.
this is actually going
So-
deeper because we talked before. Usually the designs aren't the issue.
Here's the thing. I am so surprised that this got past quality control. Like the stickers, sure, I understand. I'm surprised, but I understand. So Optimus is perpetually leaning forward by about 2 or 3 degrees.
Well, yeah, because he can't get him with knees.
Exactly.
If he had
But-
the knees, then he'd be able to stabilize. Plus, does he have ankle tilts?
Ankle tilt? He does. Yes. But he
Okay,
has only that.
that's better. That's
He has,
better.
he has
but
ankle
not
tilt,
great.
but here's the thing. The only piece that is holding the entire weight of this entire figure is a 1x4 plate connection to 2
Oh.
studs on opposite side of the foot. So if you so much move him, that 1x4 starts to loosen up and they pop out. And then, like any Optimus Prime, what do? Oh, you grab him by the waist, right? Yeah. The connection point between his the actual outstretch of his shoulders, like the actual his packs, I like to call them, the window frame, that rectangular shape is completely disconnected from the rest of the figure.
Because they have to do the opening for the Matrix, right?
Yes. No, but
Oh.
it's a strange situation where it's attached to a joint that's at the center there, and normally you'd expect a Technic axle to be there, but it's such a loose enough connection where you actually loosen up the upper half of his torso when you lift him
Oh.
up because of how heavy his legs are. But then,
they could have remedied that easily with a
huh?
with a Technic connector. Like
There's a
they did it with all their mechs.
There's a Technic connector in there. That's the problem. It's
So
one of the
weird.
Optimus is very clearly meant for display only, not to be played with, not to be
Even though he can transform.
Exactly. Like it's there for the novelty of it. Which let's face it, most of us like to keep them in robot mode anyway. But the reason why I would say no to the knees is because there are no current parts at all that could possibly withstand the weight of the entire upper body of this thing. Yet, right now especially, it's funny because there are ball joints inside his knees. The whole rotation system at his knees is like a ball joint connection.
Yeah, because that would give you the proper friction.
Exactly. But that's it. And it's just this whole mix of like, these things exist here, but are they really a problem? They kind of are, if you consider most of Lego's typical quality control. But then if you're just going to have him in his robot form and just have him sit on the shelf, it's not necessarily an issue. The problem is that kids are going to buy it anyway because it's Optimus Prime and he can transform. So I'm sure they'll get an earful eventually. And they already are. I got a lot of people coming to me when I was talking about its praising it on Twitter. It's like, but it does this. I'm like, yes, I understand that. But I'm also got rose-tinted goggles, and there's no way at all I'm going to say this is bad.
This is reminding me of like us in Bionicle G2.
Here's the thing: is all those things are definitely flaws. The set,
Yeah.
I still don't think this is a horrible set by all. I feel like a couple of things with people that are paid to do this job could have made it so much better.
My favorite part is the designer for Optimus is a former Hasbro employee. He used to work on the Transformers team. So yeah,
Well, that's cool, I guess.
it is.
But yeah, it's just like I look at this and I'm like, they could do so much more.
Always.
Yeah.
Really, it is for me the sticker thing, because like, for one, did the designer really put the sticker on that way? I don't think they would have. I think it must have gotten mixed up somewhere along the way.
I think
Yeah.
what happened was that someone put it on upside down on either a photo shoot day or on a day where something was being rendered, and from there on, it always was that way. From that point on, it goes out
Watch
of the
just like the
designer's
Hasbro now start printing the new Optimus Primes with the legs like this.
Require a whole new
no.
mold. Oh boy. And how much they like to retool their Optimuses, there's no way.
Oh, they do.
They like this past week they announced what's it called? Scourge? I think.
Yeah, and so they did Scourge, which is a repaint of the Laser Prime, which is a slight retool or upper body retool of the Earthrise Prime, which was already a retool of the Siege Prime.
Well, we saved the money today. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, like, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I get that. But
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
every time you're
Especially
doing
Optimus
it, you're
Prime.
simplifying it even more. It's just annoying. Like, there's simplifications on the Earthrise Prime, and I love that figure.
Good from a parts perspective for making the overall figure, but not good for transformation. You want to make sure that transformation is fun.
Yeah.
That's why I
like the Siege one had this cool thing with like the Siege one had this cool thing with the legs and like turn around the wheel so it like closed up and it looked so good, and they just kind of like took that out, but they left a bunch of the like associated junk there. It just doesn't look as good.
But as far as Lego goes, one thing, shout out, let's not get too deep into it because it's a topic we've discussed previously. Shout out to print quality issues.
Print quality and mold coloring, or like the
I know mold coloring is a bit of a different. I don't see that quite as much, but I know it is an issue. But
they've gotten better with it, but not by much.
The print quality is something that has surfaced, I feel like, in the last 8-ish years. I know it wasn't like this around 2010. It's hard to point exactly when it got bad. They can no longer print light on dark for some reason. They're like, oh, we have these limitations. Well, you also have profit margins that are incredible. Find a new way to print your pieces.
Yeah.
Her name
it's getting better
is Wonder Woman. That was when it started.
Was it okay?
Her pink-colored upper body portion that was visible through her suit was the first of its kind because it was an all-red torso with that printing on there. Now, from then on, there have been these outliers. Like, I don't know if you guys ever saw the Hoth version of Luke from the Battle Pack. That clearly has, like, multiple layers of printing on top of it to make it, like, so that there's no way it could possibly be
from the Microfighters.
The Microfighter, yes.
Okay, yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, I actually have it. So
I've heard word that the idea is that they can't print a certain thickness because it'll start chipping when the parts connect.
I've heard that they can only print like so many layers. I think it was like somewhere between 5 to 10. I forget the exact amount. But
which for a minifig head that shouldn't matter. For a torso that also shouldn't matter. for cosmetic drum lacquering as well. That shouldn't matter either. Thanos' gauntlet should have been all gold, in my opinion, but that's just me. But it.
And here's the thing: it doesn't work. You know what else doesn't work currently? Plant-based bricks. You're investing into that. Invest into something that's a problem right now. Invest into learning how to do a new type of print that works then.
My favorite is them investing in the Lego Foundation, where they strive their hardest to make fun into a science.
They do.
It's so fun
What are
that they
they
do that.
doing?
What they're doing, well, think about it this way. Imagine trying to pour, what is it? It's a vinegar and water? Oil and water? Oil and water.
I'm a scientist. I can figure this out.
Yes. It's a situation where you can't quantify fun. Why are you trying to make it a science?
They already had Mindstorm, which was working great in that.
Why? That's not what I mean.
I know that's not what you mean. I'm
that's fun. That's science as fun, not trying to quantify the levels of.
Yeah, this is literally like.
Oh wait, no, now I see what
like
you
you're
mean.
going, like you're literally trying to reinvent the wheel and say like, okay, how do we make our toys not fun?
No, I'm sorry, I did completely misunderstand. Now I see what they're trying to. Wow, that is way stupider than I thought.
There are people with clipboards sitting around a kid's playtime that have specific kinds of Lego brick in front of them, specifically to see how they solve the problem and have fun.
Hey, Lego, you know what you could do instead of hiring these people? How about you hire the people who have had fun with your toy, and they already know what makes it fun?
I need to.
How about you hire the people that will help make it fun for generations to come?
That's kind of their idea. Like, oh,
maybe don't get rid of Greg, for example.
Has Greg been doing much though?
No, he hasn't.
I mean, not recently, but like, think like what's part of the reason why Bionicle is so enduring?
Greg.
And also, Greg could have been on the Ninjago store team. I actually felt like he did good stuff with the Dark Island trilogy.
Yeah. Like a lot of the most memorable stories, like think about that, like
or make Greg like in charge of what they put on their website, so it's not always horribly like contrary to what.
A lot of the most memorable things about Lego come from the stories you create with it, and a lot of the stories that were made with them were through him.
Yeah, Greg doesn't even
people like him.
Greg didn't even have to be a writer anymore, but he's very good at managing lore.
Yes,
which they can use in a lot of these things. But yeah, anyway.
Oh yes. Story sells. But thinking of the Lego Foundation, though, and this, I think this is a segue into a bit of a good topic that we still haven't covered yet, but we'll try to make this quick here. Lego is so for sure about this Lego as a science thing with the Lego Foundation that they invested $20 million this year into that. $20 million in trying to make something unquantifiable quantified.
That sounds like a bad plot to a Lego movie. You know, like this company
this
trying
is basically
to like
just Interstellar. This is Interstellar. Love, it's quantifiable.
Oh my goodness. But then like that's $20 million. What about the other billions of dollars that you've got? Oh, wait a minute. $3 million to the section that runs all of the digital efforts, you know, such beautiful wonders as Hidden Side and Fusion and video, because clearly we need to keep them around to keep our IP relevant.
I would love to have a job where I could screw up and get a raise.
Yeah, cause they're under this idea that without having app integration or digital relevance, they will die, despite the fact that they are literally pop culture itself now.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing,
and they can't, and they're completely ignorant to that fact.
And here's the thing, they can do that, except
that's why we got Lego City Missions, because it's the exact same thing as video and Hidden Side.
You know what is a better way to do that? Literal Lego Minecraft. They are always saying like, oh, this is the game we should have made. Well, you didn't. But you know what you could have done? And you did? You profit off the game someone else made.
Yep.
Doing what you do best with what they did best. And that's
not saying that it's like one of the best themes they have out right now.
No, it's not, but it's successful and kids do love it and it's fun.
Going on for what, 8 years now?
I will go on record to say that is one of Lego's best themes right now.
Yeah.
I don't play
for 8 years.
I don't play Minecraft. I think it's amazing. What does that tell you?
Mm-hmm.
clearly the toys are where they should be investing in here.
I mean,
We
I
are the-
routinely come back to it every now and then, even on the podcast, and I'm just like, I'm not new to this theme, but it's doing some really interesting stuff.
I love
like
looking at
right
it. I
under
love
your
seeing what
nose.
it does.
That's why
But
I'm
what I love-
excited about the Lego gaming line, because I actually think that's the way you get more into digital stuff. Like, make products for this other stuff that people are really into if you're so afraid of the digital stuff. But then also, like, oh, hey, now what's happening? That we got one set in that line with no word of any other, and the Overwatch set is
doesn't exist.
probably never going to
That didn't
exist.
go out, no.
So what happened was that they changed the Lego Games website's logo, and that made everybody assume that there was a theme coinciding with it. There is no gaming theme. It does not exist. It never has, and
They
it never
could
will.
really
Okay,
tap a lot.
yeah,
of
that did
market,
confuse a
though.
lot
I
of
know,
people too.
they-
Because why the tall neck?
No, it's just because it's a relevant IP. They saw how Mario succeeded, and how Sonic clearly has the merits to do something, which I hope that it did, because I have never seen. It's hard to find it, but is that because of the movie, or is it because it actually is a good set? I don't know.
I think Sonic.
I think it's
probably
both.
did well.
But they saw Mario's success, and then saw, why did Overwatch fail? And Mario did. Oh, it's because it's currently relevant.
Unfortunately, they probably made the same mistake with Horizon as they did with Overwatch. Is Horizon did not stay in like the consciousness for long because it had the unfortunate timing of coming out when Elden Ring did.
Which it always suffers from that fate.
Mhm.
Breath of the Wild came out the first time.
Mhm.
It's, I will say, I have never seen it in store, and I know plenty of stores that I know that are near me that would carry it and do not have it.
I mean, it also has the benefit. I think I'm not a Horizon fan. I just thought it was a pretty neat looking set to build, so I would.
Me too. Like I like to have it to build it, but I don't think I need it.
Yeah.
Same here.
But then, of course, I want it to succeed because, there's a new Final Fantasy next year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Why not make a Final Fantasy VII motorcycle for Cloud or something? Have it on display or something.
And I think that's what Lego needs to get. Overwatch didn't fail because it wasn't relevant anymore. It's because it ended up not having staying power.
No, it's because they marketed it towards the wrong audience.
Well, that too.
That was the thing.
This is why we need the Zelda theme.
Yes,
Zelda
need it.
Great. And like I do think Final Fantasy VII, like that's perfect because it has a new game coming out
that'd
and
be good,
it's
yeah.
legacy.
It's a T-rated legacy, a huge legacy game.
Yeah, that could do well for
put
you.
in an 18 plus box.
A lot of unique stuff you can do with that one.
Yep, like you could do that. But then in the meantime, you're over here and it's like you cultivate the Lego idea of Sonic and do a whole theme. You finally give us Legend of Zelda, which is generation spanning. But then you also have your little separate world of Nintendo line where it's like, yeah, here's an R-Wing. Here's
no, like, as much as like an R-Wing, it's gonna bomb because Star Fox has been so destroyed as an IP.
You make that
if you
want to
keep doing that,
$45, sure.
Yeah, keep doing that Mosaics line. Maybe do, I don't know, like the first couple boards of Donkey Kong, or do like literally the boards of Donkey Kong.
You could literally get an entire theme out of Donkey Kong.
Like,
yeah, like even if it'll be a sub theme within Mario. It's like, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 sets a year is Donkey Kong themed. By all means, please.
You see, we're building up to the Smash Bros theme, guys.
That's not going to happen because of everybody's involved. But
yeah.
Because I'm sitting here going like, yes, I would love Xenoblade Lego. They're never going to do Xenoblade Lego, but unless they do a CMF series, which I'm not counting. I'm not crossing.
I just want my solid steak.
It would be.
Dang it!
If they did a CMS like all Nintendo series right now with the new blind box combined, they'd be able to sell them.
They'd be able to convince people on it. But then like they should be capitalizing more on Nintendo. It's not that they should because I think they believe that Nintendo's IP cross-pollinated across all crowds. You will be hard pressed to find somebody who enjoyed Zelda and Animal Crossing, which you should be making Animal Crossing Lego even before Zelda.
Unfortunately, now I'm worried they missed the train on Animal Crossing because
I think that they could get away with doing that next instead of
I do too. I'm personally.
I disagree in doing it in that order, but
I'd say if they ever wanted to bring back F-Zero, and I someday they have to. I just feel like they have to coordinate with Lego F-Zero Speed Champions.
That would be pretty cool, but it's never going to happen.
Awesome.
I love it.
But these ideas, they make themselves.
They make themselves, but the thing is, they're so hard pressed on making sure that Mario has nothing to impede it. When Mario should be ignored now and blossomed upon this current Mario form. Let me just be clear. Like the next evolution clearly is Mario minifigs. we are going to get Mario minifigs before we get Sonic's. That's in my personal opinion, just because they don't want to make sure that Sonic comes before Mario. And this state, and a full theme to say, just because of the fact they want to make sure that Mario is unpeated to start. At the minifig point, which I honestly believe that if we started off with Mario minifigs, we'd already have Zelda at this point. But because of the fact that they have to try to convince people to buy the Mario digital character, they try to make sure that there is nothing keeping people from buying the Mario. Because if you have multiple Nintendo IP, your Nintendo fan is going to prioritize one over the other because they enjoy one over the other.
Nope, because fine. Why do you think everyone's always upset after each direct, no matter what's announced? It's because there's not much crossover between fans of the different series, surprisingly.
Yep, which it's kind of like, then just start doing it then. There's no cross-pollinating. Like, you have so many people crying about there being more Fire Emblem content when clearly it's making a ton of money, and you should be making toys off of it. I don't play Fire Emblem, I totally get it. I'm a Xenoblade fan, I totally understand the whole idea, the whole
you want to make it...
I get it.
Hey, I want to see how oppressed I am as a Nintendo fan. I like Xenoblade X. That's never getting a sequel. And it ends on a cliffhanger.
I mean, Xenoblade 2 happened after they remade the game on the 3DS after 8 years.
I know, but at this point, they've done 2 and 3 on the Switch now. I don't think they're going to touch X.
3 is the end of the trilogy. Save some money by making X HD. That thing will sell.
X is a great game, and it's a shame.
It is. No, but that's just it. I think they know that it's a great game, so they'll just remake it.
I hope,
and then maybe continue the story.
I gotta constrain myself, but I love that game.
No, I have a copy of it. I just never played it because I'm so focused on the main line. But I'll eventually get to it.
It's nothing. It's very different than the other.
I know it is.
Not nothing like it, but I just love it because the mechs are so much fun, and I think it has a great story.
That's part of why I want to play it in general. The mechs.
Oh, they're so great. Oh,
the ones in 2 are great too, and 1. What am I saying? They're all great. Even 3 has got a huge swath of.
But anyway, as far as Lego goes,
yes. Make Xenoblade Lego, come on!
Just a single Metroid set of Samus's ship.
Gosh,
that would. Do you know how dedicated?
No, you could do so much more with that.
No, but here's
Samus's
what you do.
ship, Ridley. I don't know, Kraid. Like, you could do all kinds of stuff with
for
that.
$200, you can give yourself a very serious Samus's gunship and Ridley, and that being all what you get. And I personally would feel contented. However, thanks to Dread's success as a Metroid game, we're probably going to see more Metroid games and more Metroid getting into people's hands, which could encourage other
Prime
toys.
4 is still on the horizon somewhere, someday.
Somewhere, I don't know which direction,
Prime
but apparently
time.
it exists. Exactly. But it's just, there's, even with the Nintendo connection alone, obviously that's where you have to start to get kids' attention, because you're not going to get that from Sackboy, you're not going to get that from Ratchet and Clank. Unfortunately, Ratchet and Clank would be awesome. And then it's very rare to consider something that Xbox might have, but
something I just want to get your perspective on, 'cause some thought that's crossed my head. Does Lego only have the license to Mario with Nintendo at this point, and could there possibly be rights issues with some of their other IPs?
I can't see there being issue with any of the. Well, what IPs did you have in mind that you were cruising on?
I guess I don't know exactly. I was just thinking, because I know one of the issues they couldn't do it back in the day was because of the Kinect deal. And then...
So, I personally don't see there being any issue on the Nintendo end anymore. And I think that has to do with the fact that because they already have the deal signed.
Okay. Because I was wondering, I just wondered if would they have to negotiate something else for another Nintendo IP, or is it just we're going to work together with all our IPs? That's what I've wondered.
There is no longer Nintendo building toys anywhere, aside from Lego. That's telling. And because you don't see the Kinects anywhere, you don't see the build a Mario Kart stage thing. You only just see Hot Wheels Mario Kart, and that's not exactly a building kit, even though you have to assemble it. I would not be surprised if we are already a year into development of whatever's next. That isn't Mario.
I would wonder if it's Zelda, because Breath of the Wild 2 is right on the horizon.
That's the big brain play right there.
Which I'd probably end up being disappointed at first then, because Breath of the Wild's not my favorite Zelda.
See, the problem is that you might be blown away by the novelty of it and go for it anyway. Maybe depending on
if it wasn't for the price increases, probably.
We'll see about that. But that's because Lego has always been about striking when the iron is hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Sonic set went along with the movie and the 30th anniversary celebrations this year, even though it's his 31st birthday. That's one. You have all of these you see all of their endeavors in DC trying to make Batmobiles and such because like it's always currently relevant. But when the anniversary came along for 85 years, I think
I believe so.
the classic Batmobile came out. It's stuff like that where it's like they're waiting for the opportune time
Mm-hmm.
for an anniversary of some shape or form to hit, so they can capitalize on a burst in marketing. Like they
Last
probably
year was a
wouldn't-
Zelda
yeah.
anniversary that no one capitalized on.
No one, including Nintendo. But because they're in this mindset now of like, let's deliberately delay releasing a thing so that we can have it out in time for this.
Mm-hmm.
That is that's the Lego that we know right now. It's the Lego that we live with. I see, but then of course this is also Lego. And I can see them making the decision to do another IP back when it was relevant, because if you consider 2 years ago was 2020 when Animal Crossing was the #1 game that you could own on the Switch aside from Mario Kart, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that they might have started an Animal Crossing deal then. And now we're going to see the results of that next year, hypothetically speaking, of course.
I mean, honestly, even with the increased prices, I will buy that if that's the case.
See, I will buy it because it's going to be wonderful.
Hmm.
Because it's like Minecraft. You do what you do in the game with the toy.
Mm-hmm.
That is the luxury of Lego Animal Crossing. And I would be all over that. However, I do want Zelda or Metroid.
I do.
Or
I
Kirby more.
I might buy some Breath of the Wild sets, even if it's not a particular one, just in the hope that we get Ocarina of Time sets someday.
See, that's the hope. Because all of these games from Zelda they're everlasting they're evergreen.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a time where you will be disappointed in a set as long as it isn't a Game Boy title. Excuse me.
Man, I'm thinking of Skyward Sword. You know the chicken suit guy, his torso? If you could dual mold those arms, or not even dual mold, but you could make a perfect Fi from Skyward Sword with that.
I can't even comprehend Skyward Sword Zelda. Like I love Breath of the Wild, but my favorite is Skyward Sword.
I love Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I actually just played it this past November with the re-release.
Yes,
it's really good.
Good.
A Loftwing would be a perfect set.
Yeah.
Technically,
like,
anywhere on
Zelda's such a great theme. So many
any set for that. Any set from Skyward Sword, any set from Wind Waker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness gracious!
The King of Red Lions would be a perfect Lego
and
set.
What's great about all these too? Mm-hmm. Medium to small size sets, which you don't get with a lot of IPs.
Yeah, but then there's only so many Hyrule Castles that we can get, but there's a bonus to that because once one retires, you can do another one that's a completely different one, and that's just to their benefit.
Mm-hmm. Also, what you could do is, in the same vein of the Harry Potter Hogwarts stuff, you could do different versions of it within the same line.
Yep,
and just have them connect.
Yeah, like
because there's always that little, because there's always that little bit of sort of like synchronicity between all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always something that's the same with all of them. Like from Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
If they don't make this massive luxurious castle with a Breath of the Wild line that would obviously be connected to any initial release because it's currently relevant.
The hard part with Breath of the Wild is just
it's
the
castle
style
specific. Exactly, the castle is actually like a castle as opposed to a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is quite beautiful. It's meant more to be kind of a palace and a fortification as opposed to it being a couple boxes on top of each other with a corner at the top to look like a castle. Which brings me to my next point. If they're going to do a D2C set, say, it's going to be the Ocarina Castle because it's also the Smash Bros. Castle.
Yeah.
It kind of fits the medium.
It's such a nice castle too.
It is.
And you could do the courtyard, the little maze, and you could easily fit it in so well.
Now, how much do you want to bet that they would mess it up by making it microscale?
That's not messing it up for me because I like microscale.
As long as we have minifigures as well.
Sure. Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes. So My thought with
Do like the
microscale is
Hogwarts
that
one. Give
it's
us like an exclusive figure alongside it. You know, with a
Sure.
little
Okay,
plaque.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fine. But like,
Like,
I feel like
and-
for this, like this Zelda would be a very play-oriented theme, at least
yes,
for kids.
but see,
So you
here's the
gotta
best part.
make it that
The
way.
best part is that it literally has to be an action theme. They cannot
Mhm.
do anything else. They can't do what they do with Mario for Zelda. They just can't, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm excited at the
Yeah,
price.
and my problem
They
with like
can't
doing a
ruin it.
microscale set though is that it's a double-edged sword because it looks good, but it betrays the action-oriented mindset.
True. Though when it comes to microscale, it typically is geared towards the older audience meant for
Right.
specifically the display.
So you
And
kind of have
I'm
to like
yeah,
play the, gotta feel the temperature of the water with that one.
exactly. What I'm always one who likes sophisticated builds, and microscale always brings that out. But um, it's it just baffles me. There's just so much potential here, and
Mhm.
nothing. And that's okay if you're trying to make Mario live, but now it's time to it's time to move on.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, probably time to start winding down this episode.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, but we've had some great discussion here. And
Definitely.
something I want to leave some people with. I've actually seen several people say, well, like, I'm just dropping Lego as a hobby because what's going on now.
Yep.
I would discourage that.
Yes.
I would, because that's not actually, gonna help anything, because they're saying, well, these people are leaving anyways, no one need to please them now. What you want to do is, like, you hear this everyone, I feel like it's to the point it's cheap, and you do vote with your wallet, but
Yep.
also let your voice be heard in a reasonable way out there. There's
Yep.
someone someday, even if not now, that will see that.
Yep.
So
Something to also keep in mind too is that if you're a Lego fan, then you don't have to like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't buy everything. That's
Right.
that's okay.
Yeah, like the time of buying everything is over. Just get what you want. If you want it, it's fine.
And only
But
get it if you know that you
also,
love it.
but
Mhm.
also, just don't be like. And I hate to bring up the term black pilled again, but like, don't be black pilled. Like, don't be like, oh, nothing's ever going to change, even
Yeah,
if I
'cause we discussed
complain
it
about
today.
it. Because if you do and you vote with your wallet, there will be a change.
And that's what
You
you're saying
don't
too.
buy-
Do not discount the power that you have as not only a consumer but as a fan.
If you don't buy the Iron Man Hall of Armor, maybe they'll actually include good minifigures in it. Guys, come on. Get behind this.
But yeah, like a lot of people,
Yes.
I feel like this happens with a lot of stuff where they feel like the brand is pandering to a specific set of people. Then people just like, oh well, it's not for me at all anymore, so I just give up on it. They can never bring me back, no matter what I do. Well, then you're never going to get it back. If there's
When-
something that you love, stay in it, but stay a certain amount of critical. Don't let yourself just be negative about everything. That's not healthy. But
And one last thing, and in that vein of sorts. Actually, no, you finish your sentence, please. Finish your sentence.
I actually
said but.
forgot what I was gonna say now. So go
Great.
ahead.
One of the biggest issues in the Lego community right now is this idea that bring back the thing.
Yeah.
Bring
Yeah.
back Exoforce, bring back Bionicle. How about no? Don't. What you're asking for them to do is make exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
What you're going to get is not that at all.
What I think we're overdue, and I know this is pretty much on everybody's mind. We're overdue for something that's a little bit risky.
But not with
Because
AR.
not with AR, not with AR. Please, God, no, not
something
AR.
that's risky. That's
But
a
like
toy.
something
Yes.
that's risky that is still like core to what the brand is, just a toy.
Yeah.
Because
Which means-
all the other companies right now, you can really set yourself apart from this Lego. Is that all the other companies right now are extremely risk averse.
Safe. Yep.
They're all very safe. Like Transformers is doing what it wants. Star Wars is just doing,
Whatever.
the same old thing. They don't even put out vehicles anymore.
Nope.
They don't even put out vehicles anymore.
They're crowdfunded now, and no one.
We're
people would play with it.
we're a little over 10 years off from the Legacy Millennium Falcon. You know what that is, Pen?
Think.
Okay,
Can you refresh my memory?
that's what they called the big Millennium Falcon. It was basically a 3 3/4 inch scale model of the Falcon.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It is it's the size of a coffee table. It's about the size of
course.
the UCS Falcon. Like you're over 10 years off from that, and you haven't done anything like that since.
I mean,
Like,
they are
yeah,
crowdfunding that Razor Crest, but
yeah,
you know, that's beside the point.
yeah, that doesn't count. That's something that
I
would
mean,
have no trouble selling at retail.
Nope.
Like, don't even
Nope.
hit me with that, because
Not at all.
they later came out and they
Oh,
said,
retail,
okay,
absolutely.
we'll put back the Legacy Falcon and we'll put it out for $500, and people still bought it. Like,
Yep.
you're so incredibly risk averse. And this is even just Hasbro. Mattel's guilty of this too. They're putting
Yes.
Masters of the Universe stuff out there, and it's just the same old thing.
No, but the thing is, they're putting out too much of it.
That too.
Masters of
too.
the Universe is one of the most oversaturated IPs, and it always ends up that way, and it always ends the same
They've learned nothing.
way.
So I think Lego,
They
the
learned
thing they
nothing.
need to do, the thing they need to do right now is do something a little bit risky that's going to set the market on fire.
But also don't put all the eggs in that basket, because that's
Yeah,
kind of what they've been
yeah.
doing. That's what kind of what it killed their, they used to call it the Big Bang theme, and I feel like Next
Mhm.
Nights was kind of their last
It
go at
was
that
their
sort
last.
of one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all of Lego's greatest successes have been on accident of just creative people trying to do something good.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what you do best. Treat your
Do
employees
what
and your people well.
You do best. Not what you feel is best. Do what you
Mhm.
do best. You know what that is because you've done it before.
Yeah, that's Lego. We don't know what's going to happen with Lego. It might be a while before they rebound if they continue down this path. We just don't know. And that's what I want to say to all the fans out there is, try to still focus on the positive. It doesn't mean you have to defend everything they
Mhm.
do. Don't
Yep,
defend
and-
everything they do. That's what a lot of people end up doing. They're like, oh, I don't understand why people are so against these blind boxes. It doesn't really matter. Like, don't say something like that, because there's good reason for people to be against it. But you can say,
Mhm.
oh, I still like this other thing. I still like talking about the stuff
Mhm.
that's been in the past. I still like buying old sets. You don't have to give up on the hobby just because things are bad right now, because that's going to happen with a lot of things in your life. And I feel like maybe people who
As
are
you go.
younger don't realize that.
Yeah.
The older you get, things don't stay the same, and often not very good. And it is worse right now than you're hearing a lot of people, because we're in a weird time in the world right now where things are going to
Mhm.
be dark. A lot of companies don't know what to do, because a lot of people, like in Lego, have been given these positions and don't understand what to do with them. But
And maybe in this process they'll learn.
yep, that's how
Let's
things happen. And you look at trends historically in the world, someone always rises up when it's least expected and takes things in a
Mhm.
new direction.
Mm-hmm.
So just be on the lookout for that. Try to enjoy things that you can, because remember, in the end, this is also supposed to be a hobby for our stress relief, not to add to our stress.
White pill, white pill, white pill. Okay.
Add an extra line in there and flip a couple letters, and hobby becomes happy. And if you can't do that, then don't bother.
Yep.
Did you just do the sad "that's no good" meme? Wow.
But this was a really great episode. I think we had a lot of great content in here. And $99 Productions, I do see your question there. Unfortunately, don't have time to answer here. I'm going to mark it down, though, for a future episode. So I will, because all of these topics we discussed could be 3-hour episodes in themselves.
It was Lego Movie Dollar. Think of that as you will.
I didn't even mention the point where they got cocky was the success of the Lego Movie, I think.
Oh, yep, that was the turning
I
point.
mean, look at where the sequel went.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie, but the product, I could do like a whole short series on just how bad the product was done. The great sets, it's how it was presented.
Yep.
That's for today, though.
Yep, that we'll have to have you on again sometime, Pendle, because this was a great conversation I think we had.
Let me know. Let me know. I will be here.
All right, and yeah, it's still fun talking. That's kind of actually the cool thing I think we carried away from this conversation. We went in talking all the bad things about Lego, and we still discussed like all the cool things, all the things we love about the hobby.
Yeah, this kind of reminded me of like our G2 postmortem video, where it's like at the end we just kind of like, oh, there's some movies on the way that ended up not really panning out, but it's like we're still hopeful about the future. So
yeah, so as always, everyone listening, time for plugs. We have a Discord server. Link is in the the description below. It's kind of hard to find on YouTube now because their new user interface sucks, but it's still there. Go ahead and join. We have our Lego news channel, and we have a nice small community there that likes to discuss the new Lego news, as well as some video game channels, some Ninjago, Marvel Stars, those are kind of dead, but they are there if you want to revive them. But yeah, actually there's people discussing this stuff in the chat right now, like the issues with Prime. It's a great place. I totally recommend signing up there. Also, follow us on Twitter. I have been somewhat more keeping up our Twitter account now. I need to do a bit better at that, but I am back on Twitter now, so I plan on keeping up more in the future. Also, we do upload all of our episodes to Rumble, at least the day after recording. We do get ad revenue for those, so if you're listening to these pre-recorded, that's always a great place to go to support us there. We don't like to do Patreon or anything because I don't feel the need to take your money for something I do as a hobby. Not that it's wrong if someone does Patreon, but we do not put in the effort here that other creators do, and I'm not going to pretend that we do.
They do that because they want it to be a business.
Yep, we were like that when we were like 16, and then I realized I don't want it to do that. Yes, also biggest thing is good though for all this, for the discussion. Click that share button. YouTube likes that the most. That promotes us. If you share it on your feed, then we actually get recommended in other people's recommended boxes. And that is great for our videos. When people do that, we get a big boost in viewership. Same with comments and live chats. Even the more we participate in the live chat, the more people tune in while we're going. The more people are actually notified that we're live. I think that does it for all the plugs. So once again, thanks for being on this episode, Pen. It was great fun. We'll have to have you on again soon. Make sure to tune in next week, everyone, because we will have the game of the month going on. It's going to be a fun one. So, for Ford, our special guest Pen, and myself, OQ, thank you for listening. See you on the next episode.